Case number 3010, Smith Trammell versus Martin. All parties, please step forward.
Lindsay Smith and Lakeisha Trammell are suing their former friend, Charlene Martin, for vacation costs to Brazil.
Miss Trammell, you and Miss Smith have known each other for how long?
Almost 25 years.
And Miss Smith, how long have you known Miss Martin?
Probably about 8 years.
And you?
Maybe about 4.
And over a period of time, you three ladies have traveled alone, the three of you, frequently. How many have the three of you traveled on?
3.
To where?
Los Angeles.
And where was the second trip?
The second trip was a cruise to, I believe it was Grand Cayman.
Just the three of you went?
No, it was actually myself and about 25 of my friends.
And you went?
Yes, it was a
large. Was it fun?
Yeah, we had a lot of fun.
No issues?
There's always issues, but yeah.
There are always issues.
Nothing big.
Yeah. We go with your family, there were always
Exactly.
Lindsay Smith and Lakeisha Trammell claim their former friend, Charlene Martin, owes for vacation costs to Brazil.
Okay. When was the next trip?
The third trip was actually this particular trip in.
Everybody agree on that? This was supposed to be the third trip together?
Supposed to be the third trip.
And where was it supposed to take you?
We were traveling to Brazil.
And this is your complaint. Your complaint is that you put certain things
On my credit card.
Your credit card. And Miss Martin subsequently decided that she did not want to go on the trip. And because of that, and you had certain non-refundables, you were out a certain amount of money.
That is
Yes,
true.
ma'am.
Okay. I think it's Miss Martin's position that she booked some of her flights
I paid for my flights.
and didn't go. You just lost the money.
Correct.
How much money did you lose?
$518.96.
You weren't sick or anything.
No, I didn't feel
Because
comfortable going.
You just didn't want to go
Correct.
because you didn't feel comfortable.
Correct.
Something happened, which you'll tell me about, that suggested there was a little bit of hostility, and you decided you didn't want to go, even
That's
if it
correct.
cost you a couple of bucks. Tell me what specific charges you made that you want her to be responsible for, since it's clear, based upon what she told me, that there was no physical reason why she couldn't go. She just says she felt uncomfortable going, that you didn't think she would have a good time because of emotional messages she was receiving.
Right.
Okay, so tell me exactly what expenses you believe you incurred on her behalf that you should be responsible for.
The Airbnb.
Airbnb?
Yes.
Where?
The Airbnb that is in Rio. And
Airbnb, the Airbnb in Rio. So how much in total did you pay for the Airbnbs?
$669.81.
For her share?
For her share. Correct.
So one Airbnb they booked, the second one they booked after I said I wasn't going. So I wasn't responsible
just a
for that,
second.
and she said
Oh,
that.
just a second.
Yeah.
Tell me the date that you told them that you weren't going.
March 8th.
March 11th, actually.
March 8th.
Did you book the Airbnb after she said she wasn't going?
I had already sent her the Airbnb prior, and she agreed.
No, that's not my question. Did you book it after she told you she wasn't going?
The Airbnb was booked on March 9th, the second Airbnb.
Okay.
And then Wednesday, March 8th is when I said I wasn't going.
Can I see both documents?
There's more where I said I wasn't going, but this was just the date.
Shh. I'm just looking at the date. She sent this to you on March 8th. You said you booked that second Airbnb on March 9th. She had already told you she wasn't going. She's therefore not responsible for that second Airbnb, okay? Just give me the total cost of the first Airbnb.
$2,262.12.
Okay, $565. What else do you think she's responsible for?
The excursions as well.
Okay, I want you to tell me about the excursions.
So I booked excursions for all 4 people for the 8 days that we were there. I had everyone confirm about the excursions because I had to put in a reservation for those excursions.
Let me see what the document looks like.
I never confirmed any excursions.
If it was before the 8th, you're responsible for your 25%.
Of the excursion?
Absolutely. If you said, I'm not going, well, that's one thing. Say I'm not going, that's clear.
Yeah, hang gliding was the excursion.
I understand. If you say, I'm not going, don't book that for me, that's clear.
Okay.
So the excursions were per person.
Yes.
I see. Tell me exactly which excursions.
We went paragliding. We also did a few city tours.
I don't know what 750 Brazilian per person is.
Right. I have the breakdown of it.
A boat ride, is that $300 per person or 300 Brazilian?
Everything is Brazilian.
Everything is Brazilian?
Yes.
Okay. So let's have all the figures in Brazilian, and Sarah is going to figure it out.
I wasn't going hang gliding. I know that much. And then the rest is
Well, then
new
you
to
should
me.
have, just a second, then you should have said clearly to them who were making the arrangements, I'm not going hang gliding. I would have said that right up front.
Well, I should have said I'm too
That's
scared.
not for me.
Yeah.
Ice skating, I'll go to. You want to take me for a wine tasting of the vineyards? I'm with you.
She's thorough, so she'll plan a lot of activities,
Then
like ideas.
Listen, and you would have gone and you would have enjoyed yourself.
On some of them.
No, you would have gone and you would have enjoyed yourself. And if you say, I want to be excluded on this, be clear. If somebody is making the arrangements, if they're non-refundable. Now, she's saying they're non-refundable. Is that correct?
That's correct. It was for 2 people because my best friend and her sister had already stated up front that they weren't going.
I'm much like you. I'm not doing it.
Yeah. I was saying, when I even told my friend that I wasn't doing it, she said, I don't think your insurance covers that. And I was
Just
like,
a
oh,
second. Very easy. Just say, I'm not going. That's all you say. Say, I'm not going.
no. Okay.
For the hotel transfer, that $550, is that for the entire ride or was that per person?
That was for the entire ride, and then that would be split by 4.
No, just a second. That was for the entire ride.
I'm dividing it by 4.
You don't even have to divide that by 4. Cross that out.
Okay.
Now it's divided by 3. There's a difference between making a reservation for going hang gliding per person, which I understand, but if you have to get from one place to another, whether you take a car with 3 people or 4 people, if it's one cost, it doesn't make any difference. She's not charged for the transfers.
$432 US.
That comes to $997. Just for my own curiosity, you decided not to go. Just tell me briefly about that.
Keisha already didn't want me on the trip altogether. She said she wanted it to be just her sister, and Lindsay. So I already wasn't really welcome
Well, when
on the
did she
trip.
tell you that?
On a phone call.
What date?
Maybe the 11th.
We're already past that. You told them on the 8th that you weren't going.
And then even if I wanted to go, they expressed that I left a bad taste in their mouth and I could no longer come, even if I wanted to.
No, that's baloney, because you didn't say that here. $997, judgment for the plaintiff. We're finished. Thank you very
Okay.
much.
Thank you.
Thank
Court
you.
is adjourned.
I feel it's petty. I wish it could have been handled a different way.
Honestly, it's really disappointing. Not only did I lose money, but I also lost a friendship.
I hate to lose friendship over something this small, but, you know, it happens.
The last conversation I had with her, she said she was going to pay me, and I never heard from her again.
Almost like one of those things where it's like, I just want everybody to get along.
She would not be traveling with me again.
So as you know, I just planned my first bachelorette trip as maid of honor. I find after doing that, what I will do in the future is do an in-person hangout. Everyone bring your computers. We're going to book everything the same day. There's no confusion. There's no back and forth. There's receipts. There's texts. Everyone can book your own thing.
Yeah, not a bad idea.
Yeah.
Good suggestion. I don't book trips. I set the table. I say, we are going here on November 11th. You want to come? Say yes.
Okay, yeah.
Either you're in, you're out.
Clear.
Clear.
Nice and clear.
When you broke up, you took the car.
He was doing me a favor and gifted me the vehicle.
The discussion was for her to use the vehicle.
Then he took the car back.
Yes, ma'am.
Put your hand down. I'm not listening to you unless you tell me what law school you graduated from.
Harvard.
Was that just a wise-ass remark? Now you can leave.
This is Judy Justice. Reina Carreño Harvey is suing her ex-boyfriend, Hector Diaz, for trespassing and a stolen car.
Court come to order. All rise.
Have a seat, please.
Case 3133, Carreño Harvey versus Diaz.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Miss Harvey, how long and during what period of time did you and Mr. Diaz live together?
We were together on and off since January of 2018.
There came a time, according to your complaint, when you were living together, when you needed a car.
Yes, ma'am.
And that was in 2020.
Yes, ma'am.
And at that point, you had been living together about 1.5 years.
Yes, ma'am.
You did what you're not supposed to do, which is just living together. You bought a car together, titled in both your names, and the loan was in both your names.
Yes, ma'am.
What kind of car did you buy?
A 2016 Ford Focus SE.
How much was it?
After taxes and title, about $14,000.
And how much was the loan?
$16,000.
Why?
The tags and title after taxes.
Okay. So it was a $16,000 loan.
Yes, ma'am.
That you both took out.
Yes, ma'am.
How did you handle the payments on the car?
I had the responsibility of the monthly payments.
Is that correct, Mr. Diaz?
Yes, ma'am. But the total of the loan was $14,000. The price of the car was $12,000. After everything, was $14,000.
May I see,
Yes,
please?
ma'am.
Thank you. How much was put down on the car?
$1,000.
Who put it down?
Both of us.
And you made the car payments for how many months?
I would say the first 6 or 7 months duration of the loan.
Well, that's not the duration of the loan. You paid for 6 or 7 months.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, 6 or 7 months. So you had a certain amount of equity in the car, but the car still had more than half of the loan still outstanding. So far, are we correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Now, it is your claim that when you broke up, you took the car.
Yes, ma'am.
And it is your claim that the defendant came onto your property uninvited in 2023 and took the car back.
Yes, ma'am.
Mr. Diaz does not, stop playing with your papers.
Okay, yeah, ma'am.
Mr. Diaz does not deny that he came onto your property, took the car, had to have it rekeyed, and he took the car on what date?
October 17th, 2023.
However, Mr. Diaz says that when you broke up in 2021, you couldn't come to an agreement on the car because he's smart enough to know, I assume you are too, that if you broke up, the one who had possession of the car should be the only one on the title and the only one on the loan. We all understand that.
Yes.
Because we don't want a couple that's no longer a couple, somebody driving around with somebody else responsible for the payment, responsible for insurance. Okay. And Mr. Diaz says that you could not come to an agreement of how you were going to renegotiate the loan. You say he wouldn't help you renegotiate the loan.
He refused me to renegotiate the loan.
You mean to give you money?
No. What he refused is I wanted to refinance the vehicle solely to myself, and he denied me that.
He said no?
Yes.
Okay. Did he give you a 2014 Volkswagen?
Yes, it was gifted.
Okay. And that was in 2021?
Yes, ma'am.
So in 2021, because this is what Mr. Diaz says, he felt as if, based upon the fact that you had a certain amount of equity, you would put in $500 towards the car and made 6 or 7 payments on the car before you broke up, that you had a certain amount of equity. He had a 2014 Volkswagen that had no debt. Is that correct?
Yes, ma'am.
And he gave that car to you. That is correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Did he give you the title to that car?
Yes, ma'am.
And he took back the Ford Focus?
Yes, ma'am.
So he said, here's a car for you. It's free and clear. It's for the equity that you put in the car, and you accepted it.
No, ma'am.
Well, what did he give you the Volkswagen for?
So I could have transportation. He was doing me a favor and gifted me the vehicle.
And he took over the payments on the Focus?
Yes, ma'am.
Don't you understand where it's going?
Yes.
He took over the payments on the Focus. He said, I'm more comfortable making the payments on the Focus, but I'll give you a car, free and clear, so you have transportation, and he took back the Focus, right? Yes. And he gave you the title for it, so you accepted this car that had some value, and you took it, and you traded it in. Is that correct?
Yes, I sold it.
Sold it for how much?
$3,000.
And you took some of that money and you put it as a down payment for a Jeep.
Yes, ma'am.
And that was in 2022?
Yes.
What year Jeep did you buy?
A 2016 Jeep Grand Cherokee.
And how much was it?
$11,000.
How much did you put down?
$1,500.
And so you kept the other $1,500. You sold it for $3,000. You sold the car he had given you for $3,000, took $1,500 of that, put it down. Don't say anything. I just want to know if I'm following this. Put it down on a nicer car, a Jeep, with a loan. And then you didn't pay that loan and that car got repossessed.
Yes, ma'am.
And then, Ms. Harvey, you evidently were still in contact with the defendant and let him know that you didn't have a car.
Yes, ma'am.
So he let you borrow the Focus.
No, ma'am. I took possession of the vehicle and continued payments on it.
How did you take possession of it? Wait, just a second. Let's start with when did you take possession of it? Month and year. That's after he already gave you $3,000, at least $3,000 worth of merchandise for your interest in the car. So tell me when you took the car back.
I would say in
the
early...
Well, when did you go? You went to his house? How did you get the car back?
I met with him at his home, and we went to another dealership to give me the Ford, and he purchased a Mitsubishi. And I took possession of the Ford after we left the dealership with the Mitsubishi.
Well, that sounds like you're pretty chummy if he gave you back. What do you want?
Hi, I just wanted to say that I was present for the interaction when he gifted her the Beetle. During that interaction, what it was that her mother had passed away. She expressed that she could no longer make the payments. He said, I'll take the car back and continue payments, and I won't leave you without transportation so she can continue to get to work. And he gave her the Beetle.
He gave her an expensive car, which she subsequently sold, bought a car that she didn't make payments on that was repossessed. He's very smart for not letting...
She informed him that that was her intention with the vehicle.
Who cares? Sit.
Reyna Carreño Harvey claims her ex-boyfriend, Hector Diaz, is responsible for stealing her car. Hector is countersuing Reyna for locksmith costs and attorney fees.
Just so that we're all clear, you bought a car together, you broke up. You invested some money in the car, he invested some money in the car. When you broke up, he kept the car, the Ford Focus, and he gave you a car which you subsequently sold for $3,000, bought yourself a new car with a loan which you didn't pay, which got repossessed. And you're telling me he gave you the other car with the Focus. Is that what you're telling me? He gave you the Focus.
He gave me the Volkswagen and he...
No, gave you back the Focus.
Yes, gave me back the Focus,
Gave you back the Focus after your Jeep had been repossessed.
Yes, ma'am.
That would make him the dumbest man in the world. That would make him really stupid. Month and year. Did she give me the month and year 2022? Was it 2022 or 2023?
It was 2022 when I got my Jeep.
Yeah, so it was 2023 when he came and took the Focus back.
Yes.
And how long had it been in your possession the second time when he says he loaned it to you because you said you didn't have any transportation? How long had it been in your possession?
Since after my Jeep got repossessed.
Just a second. Give me the month and year that your
July of 2022.
So in July of 2022, he gave you the Focus?
Yes, ma'am.
Is that correct, Mr. Diaz? Doesn't sound right to me. No.
We discussed the use of the Ford Focus in December, towards the middle of December 2022, and she had it until October of 2017 of 2023, which is whenever I went back and...
Just a second. Tell me what the discussion was in December of 2022.
For her to use the vehicle so she had a means of transportation, and then in me doing that, of course, I would go and purchase another vehicle so I would have a means of transportation. And,
I mean, were you dating, Mr. Diaz, were you still dating at that time?
No, ma'am, not at that time.
How often did you see each other?
We still had communication through text and everything since...
Okay, I assumed you still liked her.
Yeah, to some degree, yes.
Yeah, I assume so. Okay, so in December of 2022, we discussed her taking the car and using it until...
December 2022.
Yes.
Yes, ma'am.
How long was she going to use it?
Until she could save enough to purchase a vehicle or otherwise.
Okay, and she would make the payments on it?
Yes, ma'am.
From January 2023?
2023, yes, ma'am. And
January 2023 until...
October 2023, yes, ma'am. But I was ahead on payments because I was paying more than the minimum, so she didn't have to make a payment until February of 2023, and she paid up to September of 2023.
Okay, and what were the payments on the car?
$238 and 10 cents.
So far, is that correct?
No, ma'am.
But you said no, ma'am. You want to listen very carefully. He's got very clear records. He said you didn't have to make your first payment until February 2023.
In January.
January what?
Of 2023.
January what? January
when the
1st,
bill was due.
January 1st, January 31st, January 15th.
The 22nd,
You're going to show me.
The 22nd of the month is when the bill was due.
Okay, so he had made the payments up until the end of January.
Yes.
And you made the payments until when?
From January until September, but I was going to pay October, but he took the car back before I could make the payment.
Okay, you didn't make the payment and he took the car back.
No, ma'am.
Just a second. What was the payout on the car? Because your answer says, Mr. Diaz, that you paid off the car.
Yes, ma'am. The final payoff amount was $6,873.99.
When did you pay that, sir?
October 11th of 2023.
Okay, so now you've paid off the car.
Yes, ma'am.
And tell me why you paid off the car, Mr. Diaz.
Because we had it was an ongoing thing where she was trying to refinance the car in her name and not really pay me for any advancements that I made on the payment, any progress that I made on the payment. So I didn't want to take my name off the title without, being offered something back because I was ahead on the loan up to that point. So when around that in October, where we had it was an argument that really wasn't relating to the vehicle, but the vehicle dragged me into it.
Of course. So you had an argument. What was the argument about?
It was about kind of just in general spending habits and.
No, you have to explain that to me. What do you have to do with spending habits of each other's?
Well, I was also paying for the insurance from December 2022 forward. So I added her as a driver.
Okay, so she paid the payment on the car.
Yes, ma'am.
Which is $200, $200 and some odd dollars a month, and you paid for the insurance.
Yes, ma'am. But she paid me, I think, a month or two of those, and then from there, she either wasn't able to make a payment or didn't make a payment for the insurance.
So you had the use of the car from late January of 2023 until September of 2023.
Until October 17th, the day that he took the car.
Okay. And so you had the use of a car for a relatively inexpensive cost, a couple of $100s a month. You couldn't rent a car for a couple of $100s a month. And it's clear that the person who spent, if you had to take apart the loan, the person who spent most money on this car is him, right? But I don't even have to get there. I would like to hear your theory. Why in the world would he give you a $3,000, at least a $3,000 gift after you broke up of a Volkswagen, and he kept the car, if not as in for a settlement of whatever you put in up until that time into the Ford Focus? Give me a reason.
It wasn't for a settlement, ma'am. He did it out of kindness of his heart, as well as he still loved me, and he gave me the vehicle so I would have a way to go to work.
Okay,
and
so,
transportation.
Ms. Harvey, you have no case. Your case is dismissed. Now, he's got a counterclaim. He's got the car?
Yes,
You have the car?
Yes, ma'am.
Good. Is it solely in your name?
No, ma'am. The title, when I paid it off, the title came in, so it still has both on the title.
Can I see the title, please?
Yes, ma'am.
Your Honor, I also have lost wages from him taking the car from me since October.
That's your problem. You're a grown woman.
Reyna Carreño Harvey is accusing her ex-boyfriend, Hector Diaz, of trespassing and stealing her car. Hector is countersuing for locksmith costs and attorney fees.
I mean, if you took advantage of him because she still loved you, that doesn't necessarily mean you're entitled to this car or you're entitled to the lost wages because you took the car. From a layperson's perspective, Miss Harvey, what you did was you had a boyfriend, you bought a car in both your names. It was clearly designated for you as you were a couple. When you broke up, you couldn't make a decision, the two of you, as to how the car was going to get paid off so that it would be separate property. You agree that it should be separate property, right?
Yes.
Okay. Figure out where she signs over this title.
Your Honor.
Put your hand down. I'm not listening to you.
That's fine.
Unless you tell me what law school you graduated from.
Harvard.
Really? Stop. Really? Is that just a wise-ass remark?
No.
Really? When did you graduate from Harvard?
Was your comment about law school a wise remark?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Now you can leave.
Thank you.
Put her out. There is no question in my mind that in an attempt to resolve the issue of the car, when you broke up, he kept the car, he made the payments, He gave you a car that was a perfectly reasonable running car that you elected to sell to buy yourself a nicer car. Irresponsible? Absolutely, because you bought a car that you couldn't pay for, and that car got repossessed. And if what you're telling me is you knew that he still cared about you, so he said to you, well, I'm going to give you the car, and I'm going to pay the whole thing off.
He paid the whole car off spitefully. No one asked him to pay for the car, car off.
Just a second, madam. You were overreaching. Unless there's something about this whole relationship that I think it's on the bottom that she signs it.
That's for a lien holder, so I'm not sure.
No,
I
it's
believe she was signed the back as seller to
Just a second.
remove her name.
You know where?
Yes, ma'am. And then also have the form so that I can apply for in Texas for.
Yeah, she's going to sign both. Where do you come from, by the way?
I'm from San Diego, California, and we both live in Texas now.
You both live in Texas?
Yes.
Okay.
There was three.
She's
He
gonna
may
make
want to
it-
show her where to.
What?
He may want to
Just a
show her where to
second.
sign.
Kevin, he's going to make an X where she has to sign on both forms.
You have a pen for me? Yes. Thank you, sir.
I haven't signed many titles in my time.
Miss Harvey, sign it. Both documents. Turn the documents to the defendant, Kevin.
Thank you, sir.
Now you paid off the car and now you own it.
Yes, ma'am.
You have a counterclaim. And the counterclaim is the cost of reclaiming the car and the locksmith cost to change the key.
Yes, ma'am.
You got the car back, sir. That was your primary concern. The car is now yours.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you.
The plaintiff paid for, in effect, her monthly use of the car. She got her equity in the car with the 2014 Volkswagen, which she elected to sell.
All right.
Fair. So I don't think it's quite reasonable for her to have to pay your fees to repossess the car.
Understood.
Or even the attorney that you discussed the situation with.
Yes, ma'am.
So your counterclaim is dismissed. We're finished here.
Thank you.
This court is adjourned. This way, please.
I think what I presented to the judge was true and accurate.
I'm real happy with the decision. I think her lawsuit was frivolous to begin with, and overall justice was served.
Hector gave me the vehicle as a gift. I did make payments on the vehicle as well as have lost wages because of this.
She was trying to title jump, essentially, or not register the car in her name or not have to pay. So she tried to claim it as a gift, but in the state of Texas, that doesn't go that way.
That he has my back, that he was going to be my protector and my solid ground to getting everything going.
Ultimately, yes, I do think that she was trying to benefit from the situation.
We have completely different personalities, yeah. So I'm a little bit more adventurous. He's very much stay in the house. And I mean, you can't choose who you love.
No, I'm happy to get the car back.
I think this was a really good lesson to young people, old people, anybody, that free and clear is always better than debt.
And encumbered.
Yeah, than encumbered. And I think that she had the Volkswagen that he gave her free and clear. No liens, no debt, no payments to be made, no loans. And if I were her, I would have saved as much money as I could during that time. There was no claim that the car was defective or not running properly or a hazard in any way. I would have driven that car for as long until the wheels fell off to save money if I wanted a different car. I wouldn't go 2 weeks later, trade it in for a low value to get a car that I thought was flashier or nicer or whatever for to encumber yourself with more debt. And then default on that loan, and now you have no car. So I think, hindsight's 20/20 for her, but she should have just stuck with that car that was free and clear, and I don't know why she would have encumbered herself with more debt when she had this opportunity to save as much money as she could and potentially buy a car without a loan.
Yeah, well, you're absolutely, you're right. But I think she felt as if she had a sucker.
Sure. It's a good lesson, though. It'll bite you in the butt once, and you won't do it again.
That's right.
Case 3125, Halstead versus First. All parties, please come forward.
Paul Halstead is suing his ex-girlfriend, Kayla First, for the return of a cat and money from an online fundraiser.
Mr. Halstead, for a brief period of time, you and the defendant were a romantic item and lived together for a short period of time.
Yes, that is correct.
From what I read from your complaint, you met on a dating app in February of 2022.
Yes.
And how much thereafter did you move in together?
I would say maybe like 3-4 months.
So maybe in June.
That sounds accurate.
Now, when you met in February of 2022, did you have the 2 cats that are at issue in this case?
So actually I had 3 cats, which I do still all have.
Just a second.
Oh.
I'm going to do this my way. February of 2022, you had 3 cats.
Correct.
What were their names?
We have Dumpling.
When was Dumpling purchased?
Purchased in July 24th, 2018.
Before you knew the defendant.
Yes.
And you don't deny that.
No, ma'am.
And the other cat, next cat.
Bellatrix, were purchased her the year before, so it'd be 2017
17.
in approximately November.
Okay. Also, before you knew her.
Yes.
Third cat.
Is Ouija, where she was purchased in July of 2020.
Also before you knew the defendant.
Yes.
Did you have any cats prior to February of 2022?
I did not.
So this is what the case is about. It didn't work out. You moved in together in June of 2022, and you moved out on what date?
It would be middle of October of last year.
So you lived together for approximately a year and a half.
Yes.
And when you split, it is your claim that the defendant took your cat Dumpling.
Yes.
And that not only did she take your cat Dumpling, but at some point either after or before, she started a GoFundMe page for what you categorize as future surgery for the cat.
Yes, ma'am. That's correct.
And people actually gave you money for this future surgery for
Yes,
the
they
cat.
did.
Yeah. How much money did they give you?
It was approximately $383.
You want your cat back and any money that she collected from the GoFundMe page.
That is correct.
That's what the case is about.
Yes.
Okie dokie. Well, the money you don't get.
Oh, no, that's 100% fine.
The money you don't get.
Yeah,
I can't
Dumpling
think of a
is-
theory where you would be entitled to the money.
Yeah.
But let's talk about the cat. Let's talk about that, how that happened. Tell me, Ms. First, about the breakup. When did that occur? And the circumstances surrounding you taking his cat.
Yes, so this would have been in October, early October. I already had kind of throughout my head, I already started a breakup letter due to, honestly, the lack of communication within the relationship.
Okay, good.
And then from
I'm not
there...
a therapist, I'm a
yes, ma'am.
lawyer.
Ed claims his ex-girlfriend, Kayla First, is wrongfully keeping his cat. Kayla says he agreed to give her the cat.
Okay, go ahead.
I had come home from work the one evening to...
What evening?
I'm not sure of the date at this time, but it was within the first week of October.
Okay.
And then from there, when I'm coming home, I saw Halstead on the couch to then Dumpling barely coming out, dragging herself over to me when she had then collapsed in front of me. From there, I went into hysterics and I had questioned Halstead if he had even noticed her and her state of that evening, and he said no. I then frantically kind of went around and I asked him to please take me to the emergency vet to where I finally got there with her.
Just a second. Did you go together to the emergency vet?
Yes, we did.
So you went together to the emergency vet. Who drove?
I did.
Okay. Did she remain in the emergency room or go home with you that evening?
She went home with us.
Then what happened?
The lack of empathy he had and the fact that during when we were at the emergency vet, I had forgotten my wallet and he huffed and puffed and was not very happy that he had to
I don't
pay
care.
for it.
Happy. He paid the vet bill.
Yeah.
He paid the vet bill?
Yes.
Let us move on. Do you remember, by the way, how much the vet bill was?
It was $1,700.
Just a minute. So he paid $1,700
Yes.
to have his cat seen in the emergency room?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Keep going.
That is when I decided I no longer wanted to be
You don't no longer want to be with him?
Yes.
Fine. Good. And
for the lack of empathy he had towards her, I asked if I may keep the cat while he kept his other cat within the time, and he did agree that I have in text that I was allowed to keep her throughout this breakup.
Okay. I'd like to see the text.
Here's the one.
what was the rest of your message, Paul? Hope you were doing okay. I wanted to talk to you about something important. I've been thinking about doing a lot of things.
That was the start of the breakup letter I had to send him.
Okay, but his message did not follow this.
That was exactly my thought of how confusing it was.
Well, that's very confusing to me.
That's exactly what he sent me after I sent him a very elongated, very kind letter.
I don't know what it says. Did you allow her to keep your cat Dumpling?
I did not. So I actually have the response text.
May I see it, please?
Yes.
That doesn't sort of make sense. This one says, okay, you can keep Dumpling, and I will send you $400 later. And this one says, you can't. I'm taking both cats with me. I just spent over $1,700 on Dumpling, who you say I supposedly don't care about. I do not want any of the furniture. You can keep it all. Okay. So you moved.
Yes.
Okay. What makes you think you have any right to this cat?
Just because I have taken care of her. When Halstead and I first got together, he wanted to get rid of all 3 of his animals, and I took them into my home where I actually didn't allow pets. Shortly after that, he did move in with me while he continued to commute to D.C. for work while I took care of them all week long, besides, the 2 days that he
had them since 2008. He had the cat in question, I believe, since 2018. That is 4 years before he met you.
Yeah, and I didn't want him to give them away to, at the time, his late wife's roommates, and me taking them in. They were under my care for the entire year and a half we were together.
Who cares?
Yeah.
That doesn't make it your cat. That makes the cat a cat that was living with the 2 of you.
Yes, ma'am. And with that being said, when Halstead did come home to retrieve his belongings, he had taken everything out of the closet, took 1 cat and left Dumpling, and accused me for stealing her when he had taken all of the other cat's medications needed and left Dumpling. So from our conversation of being able to keep the cat, I didn't think anything from that.
I want to see that. This isn't a conversation. Neither is what he gave. This isn't the conversation. This is just a line that starts someplace that has a question before it. Okay, you can keep Dumpling. It's not the way you start a letter that you write to somebody after she's just written you a goodbye note. That's not the way it starts. So,
unfortunately, it is the way it starts, ma'am. It was mind-boggling to myself that everything that I have written here.
Just a second.
Yes.
In this text, he says he wants Dumpling back.
Yes.
That he's just spent $1,700 on it. That is a demonstration of his commitment to the cat. Which came first, this or this?
The one prior, but unfortunately, I don't have any evidence from him and I.
You mean this one was first?
Yes, ma'am.
And this one was second.
And then we have...
And this one, he says, I'm coming to get my cat.
Which he did not take. He took the 1 cat and left Dumpling, and we did have a verbal agreement. Unfortunately, I don't have any proof or evidence of that.
Anyway, he's not getting any money, but he's getting his cat back. Sir, I will prepare an order, Mr. Halstead. You may take it to your local marshal, and you may go and pick up your cat if you wish. Do you understand?
100%.
You have 5 days in which to do that. If you don't accomplish that in 5 days, the order will read that the cat reverts back to the defendant and it will be titled in her name. Do you understand?
Gotcha.
That's reasonable?
100%.
Very good. That's the judgment of the court. We're finished.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
This court is adjourned.
I respect her decision, but it's just unfortunate we couldn't get to the neglect he had for Dumpling herself.
So happy.
She was supposed to have surgery for herniated disc that she had, as well as be on asthma medication.
From which I already have the surgery that she was talking about lined up for, because I was feeling optimistic that would win.
He decided to provide that care for his other cat and not her.
But pretty much have her going in next month, so I'm super excited, honestly.
I hope he does the right thing.
Honestly, I'm just happy for Dumpling to be back with her sisters, so I'm super excited, honestly.
Well, at least someone finally took our advice and didn't buy an animal, a living thing, have a baby, buy a car when they were together but not married. So this was relatively simple. I think people get a strong affinity for either the children or the animals or things that they care for over the course of a relationship that then when it all comes to an end, they feel like they have some legal right to those things that they tended to throughout the relationship. But it was pretty easy. He came with the 3 cats. You took care of them and did all the dirty work while you were together, but that doesn't make them your cats.
Yeah, not your cats. And he took care of them for 4 years.
Yeah.
Like,
Before she even came along.
Right. Easy.
Yeah.
They should all be that easy. Okay, so you took the car to go and get some weed for the 2 of you.
Correct. As I'm pulling off out of the complex, a shootout broke out.
So you put your head down and crashed the car?
Yes.
Did you report the car stolen?
Because he took it without my permission.
That doesn't make sense to me. If it doesn't make sense, it's not true.
This is Judy Justice. Tanaya Fox is suing her ex-boyfriend, Keontae Williams, for destroying her car after being involved in a shootout.
Court come to order. All rise.
Have a seat, please.
Hello, Judge. Case 3019, Fox versus Williams.
Thank you. Welcome. All right, Miss Fox, this used to be your boyfriend.
Yes.
From when to when was he your boyfriend?
We started dating in 9th grade, beginning of our freshman year, till we stopped talking right after this accident happened, so about January.
Okay, could we have dates, please?
January in 2023, we stopped talking.
How old are you now?
18.
How old were you when you started dating him?
14.
Okay. Did you ever live together? At your house, at his house? Did you ever live together?
Not technically, but
Not technically. I'm dealing with reality. In reality, did you ever live together?
No.
Did he ever stay at your house? Did you ever stay at his house?
No. But we was together all the time, a lot.
What does that mean?
Like, we didn't live together, but we was always with each other.
Where?
At his house.
Better. Were you together at his house while you were still in high school?
Yes.
Is that your mother?
Yes.
Did you have your mother's permission
Yes.
to stay at his house? Is that right?
Yes.
Great. How old were you when you started staying at his house?
17.
So you were there for a little while before this incident occurred. Now, you had a car. What kind of car?
Malibu.
What year?
2016.
When did you purchase it?
I don't remember the exact date, but the month was in January. Before the accident happened, I only had it for 2 weeks.
Was there a note on the car?
Yes.
Do you have insurance on this car? You had to have insurance on the car.
Yes.
Full coverage.
Yes.
This is what you're claiming. You're claiming that you were at his house and he asked to borrow your car. You said no. Yeah, I don't believe that. I don't believe that you said no. So let's move on from there because it's not particularly relevant, but the car was involved in an incident and you want him to be responsible because you say it was his fault that this incident occurred. He said it's not his fault at all. He borrowed the car. He didn't borrow the car to go and buy or negotiate for drugs at all, but he was just driving somewhere and he got in the crossfire of a shootout and the car was bullet-ridden and destroyed.
Correct.
Now, you're at your house, and this is in January or February?
January
January what?
21st.
What time? Uncross your arms. What time did you take the car?
Around 8, 9 o'clock.
At night.
Yes.
Before you took the car, where were you? Were you in the kitchen, the bedroom? What room were you in?
In the bedroom.
What was she doing?
In the bedroom with me.
Doing what?
Laying down, watching TV.
Had you had dinner at your mother's house? This is your mother, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Had you had dinner at your mother's house?
No.
Where had you had dinner? It's between 8 and 9 o'clock. Everybody's eaten. Even, well, old people eat at 4:30 in the afternoon, but even people your age have finished with dinner by 8, 9 o'clock. Where did you have dinner?
In the house. I don't eat much, so I don't know.
Well, you have to eat. You had nothing to eat?
No.
Nothing. Okay. So now I want you to tell me what inspired you to go out at between 8 and 9 o'clock. Don't look down. Right here.
I went out to buy weed for us to smoke.
Okay. Is that where you told her you were going?
Yes.
She say okay?
Yes.
Yeah, that sounds right. Where'd you get the money from?
Myself.
From where?
Working.
Okay, so you took the car to go and get some weed for the 2 of you. Is purchasing marijuana legal where you live?
No, ma'am.
So you have to go to not a dispensary or something where it's legal. You have to go and buy it on the street?
Correct.
How much money were you going to spend on marijuana?
Like $60.
What?
60.
So tell me what happened. So now you're going to find somebody on the street. Did you make arrangements with them before you went?
Yeah.
Did you call somebody and say, I'll meet you, you know, on...
Yeah, I called somebody and I went to go meet up with them.
And you got into the car.
I got into the car. As I'm going to get the weed, I got it.
So you picked it up?
Yes.
And you gave the seller the $60?
Mm-hmm.
Uh-huh, not an answer.
Yes, ma'am.
And then what happened?
As I'm pulling off out of the complex, a shootout broke out. And
What complex?
It's a complex behind the YMCA.
Go ahead.
And I put my head down once I heard the bullets hit the car, and I was driving straight. I hit the curb. The car stopped. It didn't move.
Did you give the guy the money?
Yes.
So it wasn't the guy that you bought from. It was somebody else?
I don't
You don't know. So you put your head down and crashed the car?
Yes.
What did you crash into?
The sidewalk.
Okay, you have pictures of the car? Car was impounded, I assume.
I do.
I'd like to see it. Oh, it's pretty disastrous. Now, you had full insurance on this car.
Yes.
And you had only had the car 2 weeks.
Yes.
So did they total the car?
The insurance people?
Yeah.
No. I had tried to put in a claim for them to get it fixed, but they denied it. The police totaled it and put it into half the pound.
I didn't understand a word that you said, so keep your voice up and speak slowly.
The police put it inside the pound, but the insurance people, they just denied my claim that I put in for it to get it fixed.
Why?
They said that because the keys was in the engine, that it was technically my fault. Like our fault. I have the denial letter.
I'd like to see it.
Tanaya Fox claims her ex-boyfriend, Keontae Williams, took her car without permission and destroyed it. Keontae is countersuing Tanaya for stealing money from his Cash App account.
Where's the car now?
It's still inside the shop.
No, I actually don't understand this. When was the last time you made a payment on the car? Tell me when the last time is you made a payment on the car.
This month. On
Show me. Did you report the car stolen?
Yes. I have a police report.
I'd like to see it.
I actually think it's with those papers.
Oh, here it is. Just a second. This isn't a report of a steal. First of all, he didn't steal the car. He took the car with your permission. There's no question in my mind that living together, he went out to get you some weed with your permission. It was 8, 9 o'clock at night. There's no way that you said to him, no, you can't take it, and he took it anyway. It just doesn't make sense for a 17-year-old and an 18. That doesn't make sense to me. If it doesn't make sense, it's not true. Who decided to say that the car was stolen and tell that to the police? Who thought that that was a good idea?
Me, because it was. I didn't give him permission. I actually told him to take his mother's truck, and he's told me no.
Okay. Have you driven her car before?
Yes.
How many times?
A lot.
How much? More than 20 times? Mm-hmm. Yeah, sure. So I don't believe you. Now, the problem with you reporting the car stolen is that they didn't find that the car was stolen. They found the keys in the car. They found no evidence of the car being stolen. So they said the car wasn't stolen, the keys in the car. That means somebody had permission. That's still not a reason for an insurance company to deny a claim if you had full coverage on the car. So I would say that you're suing the wrong person. He's not going to pay for the car. He's not paying for the car.
Your Honor, I have evidence that he actually went out to go sell marijuana. He wasn't buying it. I actually have a text message because we know who shot at the car. It's actually his cousin. I text.
Oh, just a second. Do you know who shot at the car?
No.
I have messages of me texting the person and telling them.
I'd like to see it. So you know who shot at the car? Madam, you know who shot at the car, is my question.
Yes.
Then sue them.
you know.
Okay.
And I also have messages of me telling him how much my car is to get repaired, and he's telling me that he's only going to give me what I put down on my car.
Let me explain something to you. I'm not giving anything against him. If you know who caused this accident, who shot your car, which is what you say, you have to
but
sue
I'm
him.
suing him because he took it without my permission.
I don't believe, and I'm telling you that I don't believe that. I'm telling you that I don't believe that. So I'm telling you to sue the person who caused the accident. That's what you have to do, not him. I don't believe he didn't have permission. There's no question. If you lived at his mother's house with him, he's driven your Chevy Malibu dozens and dozens of times.
And
So I don't believe that he didn't have permission.
He
So
took it out permission more than one time in life.
sue the person who shot up your car and caused this accident. You say you know who
My
it
car would
is.
have never been a side accident if he didn't take it out my permission.
Do you understand what I just said to you?
Yes, I do.
I said I don't believe you. Sue the person who shot up your car and caused the accident. You know who they are. File a police report against them. How's that? Is the person who shot up a car a regular selling drugs?
Not that I know of.
That person was there the night that you were there allegedly purchasing drugs?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes. Is that the person who shot at your car?
I don't know who shot at the car, ma'am.
She knows. Did he tell you who shot at his car?
Yes.
See, I believe that.
No.
You know who shot at the car?
No, ma'am.
Do you know what cousin she's talking about?
Absolutely not.
First name? You know that person? You know that person?
No, ma'am.
I'm sorry, Your Honor.
We Okay, so your case against him for that is dismissed. He got a counterclaim, taking money out of her. Did you take money out of his Cash App?
No.
Show me proof she took your money out of Cash App.
Well, I don't have any proof, but she have took over my whole email.
Just a second.
She never gave my email.
Just a second. I said, show me proof she took money out of your Cash App, is what you said to me. I don't have any proof?
I don't have any proof that she took it out, but I have proof that I gave her money.
I don't care whether you gave her money or not.
Excuse me, Your Honor.
I didn't ask you anything. He has a counterclaim that you took $600 out of his Cash App without permission after this incident occurred. He says he has no proof. His counterclaim's dismissed, as is your claim. Now I'm going to do the second half of this case. You sit down over there, you move over there, and you're the mother. You're his mother. You move over here. Perfect.
Sit down.
Call the next case.
Case number 3019, Williams versus Fox.
Yeah. Did you swear, Miss Williams? Kevin?
Raise your right hand, please. You swear to tell the truth in these matters today?
Yes.
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay.
Delilah Williams is suing her son's ex-girlfriend, Tanaya Fox, for vandalizing her truck.
Miss Williams, you are the mother of the defendant in the last case, and
Yes,
it is
ma'am.
your claim that the defendant vandalized your 20-year-old truck.
Yes.
First, tell me when you purchased this truck.
I purchased this truck in June of 2020. I had it about 3 years.
Who did you purchase it from?
I actually purchased it from my uncle.
At the time of purchase, you had to register the car?
Yes, ma'am.
How many miles on the car when you registered it?
125,000.
That was 3 years ago.
Yes.
And how much did you pay your uncle for the car?
I gave him $5,000 for the car, the pickup.
You give him $5,000 in cash?
Yes.
And you kept full coverage on the car, is that right?
Yes, ma'am.
It is your claim that she vandalized the car. And I'm going to get to proof that you have that she vandalized your car. According to you, you had full insurance on the car.
Yes.
And the insurance paid you for the damage totaling the car, according to you.
Yes.
And gave you how much money?
They gave me $9,000.
They gave you $9,000 for a car that you paid $5,000 for.
Yes.
So far you're ahead of the game, $4,000.
Yes, I was.
And then, according to this, you bought the car back from the insurance company.
Yes.
For how much?
$2,100.
So you're still ahead $2,000.
Yes, ma'am.
And you have your truck back.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And what you're asking for in your lawsuit against the defendant, if I find that she actually vandalized your car, is $3,879.
Yes.
Are you out of your mind? Are you really? Seriously? Are you out of your mind?
How
you
is that being
just
out
a
of my
second.
mind?
Yeah, I just given you the numbers, so you must be out of your mind, or you think that I am. Okay, so let's just for giggles. Why don't you show me what proof that you have, proof that the defendant vandalized your car?
Well.
Not well. This isn't a well. Show me what proof you didn't see it. You didn't see it.
I did not see it.
Right.
But I know
now,
she did it.
I don't care what you know. I don't care what you know. I said proof. This is a proof case. Show me proof that it's your case. Show me proof that the defendant vandalized your car.
I do not have proof, Your Honor.
Well, then you have no case. Goodbye. Thank you very much.
This court is adjourned.
All right. I'm happy with that.
This one.
I came home from my birthday photo shoot, and he asked me to use the car to go sell marijuana, and I told him no, to take his mother's truck.
No, but she gave me her keys. I went to go do that.
But he said that the car didn't have no gas, but I still told him no to lay down. And when I dozed off and went to sleep, I woke up and he was gone.
You hit a gunfire, you hit the bullets hitting the car, and you just hope for the better.
Because he was my boyfriend, he didn't necessarily, like, I wouldn't want to put him in jail. Like, I knew he was gonna answer the phone for me. But it's just like, it's the principle of, if I told you no, don't take it. Like, it wasn't that deep to call the police, especially because he's someone that I love and care for. I'm not gonna put him in jail.
My child could have lost his life. We here for some money, but he could have been dead right now.
We're not together.
Oh, it's over and it's gonna stay over.
I was in Chicago, Illinois, and I was with two other friends. And around the time that she said that she called my mom, said it happened, I was gone from Indiana for the day before that happened and the day that it happened.
Yeah, sure she was. That's what they all say.
There were so many pieces of that case that were reminiscent of other things. First of all, Sarah, I'm still not comfortable with the wisdom of a parent letting a 16, 17-year-old go and live with her boyfriend in their house just because they want to.
Yeah.
And, you know, live together. I just think that it's such poor judgment. And I know that that's provincial and maybe not au courant with what's going on in the world. But I just find it not in a forward trajectory of anywhere.
Seems to lead to more problems that we see than solutions.
So than forever.
Than quick engagement.
And forever
Usually
romances.
more problems.
Yeah. And the second thing that I found particularly troubling was that this young man, who I think gave me totally honest answers.
Seemed honest.
Maybe not about selling, maybe instead of buying, he was selling. I'm not sure. But so casually, knowing that it's illegal in the jurisdiction where they live to buy, sell, or possess marijuana. And I'm not getting into that discussion now. There should be a federal standard so you know where you are from one state to another. But he knew it was not legal, and how casually he admitted committing a crime.
I did look it up beforehand, and then when he said it, I just cleared the tab because we didn't need the information anymore once he admitted that he knew it was against the law. It was certain thing. I only looked briefly, but it looks like it's a misdemeanor crime with a fine to possess up to a certain amount in Indiana currently. But yeah, I mean, so in addition to casually admitting to, a misdemeanor here today, also just the demeanor of the defendant speaking about his car being shot up with him inside of it. It was like, I had oatmeal for breakfast. I was like, that seems like something, it was very casual, very monotone. Like that would be a huge life event, in your mind, in my mind, in, many people's minds. And it's just unfortunate that it's become so ingrained in what's going on today that it's just like.
Yeah, and I wonder whether that would have happened had the laws been different in Indiana. Don't know. Certainly, his mother knew that her lawsuit was ridiculous. She got paid twice. She made out like a bandit in having.
Still made a profit.
Yeah,
on
she made
the
a profit on
vehicle.
it. Yeah, right. I don't know how that happens. Anyway, interesting case. I gather that all of you are very involved in cars.
Yes, Your Honor.
I was talking about how I wanted rims on my car, and he was like, oh, maybe I should get new rims on mine.
The rims that you wanted, she gave you the money.
Yes, Your Honor.
His girlfriend would not.
Why wouldn't you?
And his wouldn't.
Smart girl.
I know.
This is Judy Justice. Bailiff Cassandra Britt is standing in for Bailiff Kevin Roscoe, and Law Clerk Alexi Mincer is sitting in for Law Clerk Sarah Rose. Skylar Ramirez is suing her former friend, Chris Martinez, for an unpaid loan and harassment.
Court come to order. All rise. Have a seat, please.
Case number 3073, Ramirez versus Martinez, Judge.
Thank you, Cassandra.
Yes.
Miss Ramirez, this gentleman is a friend of your boyfriend.
Yes, was.
He was a friend of your boyfriend.
Yes.
No longer, I assume, because of this incident.
Yeah.
And I gather that all of you are very involved in cars, fixing them up, souping them up, making them pretty, whatever it is. It is your claim that the defendant, Mr. Martinez, wanted rims for his car. I must tell you, I haven't had a rims case in many years. And rims are expensive. The rims that you wanted, sir, were $1,200.
Yes, Your Honor.
And you didn't have the $1,200.
No, Your Honor.
And according to you, Ms. Ramirez, you gave him $800 of the $1,200 as a loan.
Yes, Your Honor.
We'll get into the specifics of how that came about, and you haven't been repaid. That's why you're here.
Yes, Your Honor.
How long have you known each other?
The two of us, like 7, 8 months maybe.
What's your boyfriend's name?
Nathan.
Nathan, how long have you known Mr. Martinez?
I've known him for a couple years now, maybe about 6 years.
6 is more than a couple.
I'm sorry, Your Honor.
6 years. Mr. Ramirez, I want you to tell me the circumstances surrounding this transfer of $800 to Mr. Martinez.
It was a conversation between the two of us. He explained that.
Just the two of you? Your boyfriend wasn't there?
It was just the two of us at Brittany's house, and we were.
Who's Brittany?
Brittany is his girlfriend.
Was it your house?
Yes. We had a conversation that he wanted to acquire some rims and didn't have the credit score for it.
Didn't have the credit score?
Yes.
Okay. So you were originally going to take out a loan to buy the rims?
Yes, Your Honor.
And when was that, Mr. Martinez?
It was towards the end of March of 2023.
You went to a finance company?
I used to work for a tire shop, and they do financing there. And then that's when Ms. Ramirez.
No, Ms. Ramirez isn't a mind reader, so somehow you had to have a conversation with her.
I brought it up with my girlfriend.
Brought it up with your girlfriend?
Yes, I talked about it with my girlfriend.
Hold on.
Good morning, Your Honor.
Tell me your name.
Brittany Gallardo.
I want you to tell me the first conversation you had with your boyfriend about these rims.
Yeah, we were just talking about
Just
both
the
of
two
our
of you?
cars. Yes, just both of our cars. I was talking about how I wanted rims on my car, and he was like, "Oh, maybe I should get new rims on mine." And then from there, that's when.
No. Just the two of you.
Mm-hmm.
So you said you wanted new rims on your car. He said maybe I should get new rims on mine.
Mm-hmm.
There had to be more than that. You know, he's your boyfriend. You live together?
No.
What does that mean?
He stays over every once in a while.
Okay. I want you to tell me the conversation that you had with your boyfriend when she wasn't there, initially, about buying rims.
That was the first time we ever really had that conversation.
Okay, well, the first time you had the conversation,
Yeah.
the issue of money had to come up.
I told him I didn't have money for mine, and
You said I
that
don't
we
have-
had to work on getting the money for rims first.
So you said, I don't have money for rims for mine.
Mm-hmm.
It's not an answer. Yes, I'm sure
Yes,
you
ma'am.
mean yes, Ms. Gallardo. And he said he's got to work on getting the money for his?
Yes, ma'am.
Were those his words?
Yes, ma'am.
Well, if it's my boyfriend, my next question would be, how are you going to do that? And what did he tell you?
He's looking for another job because he had just lost his job recently.
So he was going to look for another job.
Yes.
Did he talk to you about financing the rims?
No, ma'am.
He just said he was going to look for another job. Tell me about when this was. Do you remember what month?
Middle of March, beginning of March, somewhere in there.
Okay. there came a time when the plaintiff was at your house.
Yes.
And you were home.
Yes, ma'am.
And your boyfriend was there.
Yes, ma'am.
Were you present when he started to talk about his lust for rims with the plaintiff?
Yes, ma'am.
Tell me the conversation.
They were talking about rims. And
No,
so I
she
brought up
wasn't-
the
she-
conversation that we had about him. And then she was like, oh, well, why don't you guys just get him? And I was like, well, I don't have the money right now, and he still has to find another job. So until that happens, you know, we can't really do much. And she was like, oh, well, you know, I could be your friend and I can help you guys finance, but the work that he does on my car should be free.
No. Careful what you say to me. Be really careful.
Yes.
You want to be helpful, but don't get ensnared in the web.
Okay.
Because I weave that.
Yes, ma'am.
So she was there. You started to talk about rims,
Yes, ma'am.
financing them. She said, I could help you guys out by financing.
Yes.
And you had tried to finance.
No, Your Honor, I haven't tried.
Okay, so you hadn't gone to anyone else about financing.
No, Your Honor.
Okay, so she said, I could help you guys out financing. And what did your boyfriend say?
No.
Sorry. Scalardo, right here. Not him. You know, he may be permanent, he may be temporary, you never know. This tape is forever.
I know. I know.
Good. I mean, 10 years from now, you probably will have to look at pictures to remember what he looks like. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Skylar Ramirez claims her former friend, Chris Martinez, refuses to pay back a loan for car rims.
Okay, she said, I think I could help you out financing. And?
They had their conversation. I went inside because I have kids. So I just went inside.
Oh, so you didn't hear?
I heard the conversation from the door because I just went to go check on the kids. But I said, I would rather you wait until we can do it on our own. And so their conversation came up because she had already gotten work done on her car. So, and she kind of already owed him.
There's no almost
Okay, well, she owed him money for the labor that he was doing on her car. And because of that, he was like, well, if you do that, we can just call it even. And
You heard that?
Yes, ma'am. And so she was like, so you're going to do my car for free? And he said, yeah, I'll work on your car for free, but you have to finance and pay for the rims. That day that they went to go get the rims, I guess, he had to put cash out of his own pocket to get the rims that day.
How much, sir?
I put $400 down.
You put down $400, but the rims were $1,200.
She got financed for $800. The rims, cash-wise, were $1,200 out the door cash. There were more because interest, so I put $400 down.
So she gave you $8.
Yes, Your Honor.
And that was sometime in March.
Yes, Your Honor.
Between March and May, what work did you do on her car?
Every time they needed something done on their car, they show up to my girlfriend's house late, around 11 o'clock, 12 o'clock at night, asking for work to get done. I've done oil changes on the car, their brakes, spark plugs.
I asked you a specific question. Between March, which is the time that she advanced $800 towards your rims, and May, what work did you do on her car?
Your Honor, it varies. I've done multiple stuff within that time period.
This is her boyfriend. He used to be your friend.
Yes, Your Honor.
He's not your friend anymore.
No, Your Honor.
You want to tell me why?
Because this whole situation, the way it turned out to be, he's just going off what she says. He's
Well, you've been friends for 6 years. Did you have a discussion with him? Because there came a time when she wanted her money back. Because now she's got this loan that's built up interest, right?
Yes, Your Honor.
And so you had to have had a discussion with
Nathan.
Nathan.
Nathan really never talked to me about anything. It's always Skylar going through his phone on his Instagram, talking to me about it, or having other people call me.
May I say
Nathan? Nathan, did you ever have, after the exchange of this money and after your girlfriend took out this loan, did you ever have a conversation with Mr. Martinez?
I did not personally know.
Did you have any email or text exchange with him?
On my account, yes, Your Honor.
Do you have a copy of that?
This was later on, like a month after the financing.
Well, this is in April. I assume that this is you saying, ain't trying to rush you, bro, but we need the money.
Yes, Your Honor.
Do you have half of the 50?
Yes, Your Honor.
And he says, I don't, bro. I always have 3 kids to take care of. You have 3 kids?
I have 3, Your Honor.
Okay. You're good. I wasn't even trying to be like that. Don't take it the wrong way. I'm not, bro. I don't want you guys to think I'm blanking you all over. What does that mean?
I don't want them to feel like I'm screwing them over, Your Honor.
Screwing them over for what? For the money?
Yeah.
For the money. Well, that would indicate to me, Mr. Martinez, that you acknowledge that you owed him money, but you have 3 kids to take care of, and you didn't have the money.
The initial agreement when I got the rims was I work on their car. That was the initial agreement.
That's in March. You said that I would work on their cars. That's what you said.
Yes, Your Honor.
Initial agreement is that I would work on their cars. And so I specifically asked you, what work did you do on their cars from March until May? Which was actually a pretty reasonable question, because these texts were the end of April. And you said, I changed spark plugs, I changed the oil.
I've done brakes. I've installed aftermarket parts for them.
Just a second. When is my question? I just want to know what you did for them after she gave you the money. Were you supposed to sell this car, sir?
Yes, Your Honor.
Did you sell it?
No, Your Honor.
Why not? Is not an answer.
Just people lowball me.
You have a Mitsubishi?
Yes, Your Honor.
2000.
Yes, Your Honor.
Where'd you get it from?
I traded one of my last vehicles for it.
You traded?
Yes.
What did you trade it for?
I had a 2013 Cadillac ATS, and I traded my homeboy with it, and he gave me cash on top as well.
When?
I want to say beginning of February.
Oh, so you didn't have this car very long, so it was
No,
your
Your Honor.
intention of flipping the car once you
Yes.
put rims on it.
Not even that. I was going to sell it with stock rims, too.
Then what'd you invest $400 of your own money and $800 of her money for?
I wasn't going to sell the vehicle with the rims on it. People that messaged me about it, I told them I'm selling it with stock wheels because I'm not going to lose $400 out of my own pocket. So.
Does he take care of your cars?
He did change our brakes. He did.
On one car or 2 cars? One car.
One car, Your Honor.
You live together?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so he changed the brakes. Do you remember when he did that?
March.
What else did he do?
He did a spark plugs a few days later, and then there was a leak in like our router or something like that in the brakes, and he changed that. But other than that, it was like small little things. He painted our rims. We helped him paint the rims together and stuff.
When you go over to where they live, he does it at his house?
No, he does it at Brittany's house, his girlfriend. We would text him and I'd tell him that I get off late, and he said to just come through later on in the day whenever I'm off work. So it would be late and I would let them know that, and they were okay with it until a time, and then they told me that's not okay, and I said that's fine. Like, I respect the boundaries.
What arrangements did you make to pay him?
Anytime he would do our thing for us, like the brakes, for instance, he told us that it'd be $50. And I told him that I'd cash app it to him, and I cash apped him $50.
So you paid him for the brakes?
Yes.
$50?
Yes.
And you can show me that?
I have it on my phone.
Did she pay you $50 for the brakes? She's going to show me that
For the
you
brakes,
did.
yes.
Spark plugs?
I've never received a payment for spark plugs.
Spark plugs?
No, he said that he would do the labor for it if we paid for the parts.
And how much were the parts?
Altogether, because we bought it with the brakes, it was like $156, somewhere around there and some change.
Okay, and you paid for the parts?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, now, Mr. Martinez, I'd like you to give me some indication of how many hours it took you to change the spark plugs.
Roughly about 30 to 45 minutes.
30 minutes. And then you said there was a router.
Rotor.
Yeah, sorry.
And was that also around the same time in March?
Yeah, it was all around the same time. He was supposed to do it the same night, and then he exclaimed that it was getting late and if we can do it another night.
Okay, so far you've paid him $50. Did you pay him anything for the router?
No, he said he was going to do that because he noticed it was leaking.
So he did those things within a 48-hour period?
Around there or some.
And for that, you sent him $50?
Yes, ma'am.
Which you acknowledge you got?
Yes, Your Honor.
Those are the things that you said were done, right?
That, oil change.
Oh, just a second. When did you do an oil change?
I did the oil change the same day I did the spark plugs.
Okay, so it was all done within a 48-hour period. And after you did that work, and it took you an evening, and it got a little late, so you did some the next day, you charged her $50, which she sent you.
I charged her $50 for the brakes. I never got paid for doing the oil change.
Well, oil change is nothing. It's certainly not $800.
Skylar Ramirez is accusing her former friend, Chris Martinez, of owing her the balance of a car rims loan.
Do you understand what I'm talking about, Mr. Martinez?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay, so now we're at a place where I've just eliminated most of your defense because you said you did work on her car so many hours, 50 hours or whatever it is, and you were never paid for it, so it was part of the agreement. So now I have you worked on the car, according to you, over a 24 or perhaps 48-hour period, but you have a full-time job, so you were doing it in the evening, and she didn't pick this $50 out of the air. You must have said, I'll do it all for you for $50.
No, Your Honor.
No?
No.
Okay. How much did you tell her it was going to be, sir?
I told her for spark plugs and oil change, that's $30 a piece. I'm helping.
Just a second. Spark plugs and oil change was $30, so that's $60. Okay? And the brakes?
Brakes, I charge them $50.
Be careful what you tell me, because, you start to get dry mouth. Do you understand?
Yeah.
So you charge her $50, $30 each for those two things, and the brakes.
I just charged for labor. So when
And how much was that?
With that was $110.
You're making that up as going along. What did you do with the $50 she sent you?
I kept that.
You kept it?
That was my pay.
You kept
for the
it?
brakes.
Pay for what? The brakes?
The brakes.
Right. So now, at most, she owes you $60. Is that my math correct, Mr. Mensah? At most, she owes you $60 because you said $30 for the spark plugs and $30 for the oil change. Where do you get $800?
I did their exhaust. I put a aftermarket wing on their car.
Just a second. When?
This was all in the span of maybe 2 weeks to a month before we stopped being friends.
Ms. Ramirez, now I want you to tell me about the conversations because I've been on that team for a while. Now I want you to tell me your version of how it came about that you took out this loan for $800.
So the conversation was at Brittany's house, and the three of us were there. We communicated that he didn't have enough credit, and he asked if I would finance for him because Brittany would not. So I explained.
Why wouldn't you, Brittany? You couldn't or you wouldn't?
I wouldn't. I wouldn't.
Smart girl.
I know. I don't know.
Smart girl. You're thinking about that photograph, right?
Sure am.
So?
Yeah. And
he said Brittany would not, and?
Brittany would not, and so he asked if I would do it for him, and I said, well, yes, of course. Like, we're friends. I will help you out, but we have to make an agreement because I want to make sure that I'm not losing any money out of pocket because I'm just doing this to help a friend. And he said yes. We went to the place on March 29th. We went to the Rims place, and they told us the papers right here of how much it would be together, $1,800. The payments are $71.40 every other week. And he said that he would pay me every other week so nothing had to come out of my pocket. We never made an agreement of he would do the car, whatever.
I'm not talking about the car.
But I had no idea that he paid any money out of pocket. On the lease, it says nothing about him paying any cash money whatsoever, and that's why the total is so high. And
do you have any communications with him other than what Nate has shown me about the loan?
This is the cash app that he sent $50 and then called me and asked if he can have 20 back for gas. And so, as you can see, it was in a period of time.
Mr. Martinez, what did you send her $50 for?
I was towards the rims because I was getting harassed every day about it.
Just a second. So this was payment, a $50 payment for the rims, but then you asked for cash money back.
I never asked for money back.
So you paid her $50 towards the rims, and you did that beginning of April.
Yes, Your Honor.
And then I see another payment.
No, that was the 20 that
I
sent
she gave you back.
He called to ask for some back.
Did you ever borrow money from him?
No, Your Honor.
Because it says, I'm confronting you on a big boy issue.
Yes.
We always paid you back.
I'm talking about the parts where he did like the spark plugs and the brakes and all that. He said that I never paid him, but he knows that I did pay them for that.
So that's what you were talking about?
Yes, that's what I was talking about.
We always paid you back. How much do you owe the finance company now?
Today, if I were to make the purchase, it would be $892.15. But that's already after I made payments already.
And how much did you make in payments that you can prove to me? Ms. Gallardo, how long have you known him?
Way too long. I want to say 13, 14 years now.
You live together?
No.
Is he the father of these children?
No.
Do you work?
Yes, ma'am.
What kind of work do you do?
I'm a masseuse.
You support your kids?
Yes, ma'am.
What about him? Does he support his?
Yes. As much as he can.
Well, you know, you have to eat regularly.
Right. He does, mechanical work and stuff. He goes and spends time with his kids.
But, you know, if you have 3 kids and you don't work all the time or work at a not high-paying job,
right?
Doesn't it sound moronic to spend $1,200 on rims for a car?
Yes, ma'am.
Sounds like something a 10-year-old would do. You know, not somebody who was a responsible parent. Because you have kids.
Yes, ma'am.
And when you said, I'd love to put rims on my car, you said, I can't afford it.
Yeah, I can't afford it right now.
Ta-da! How much did you make in payments?
Altogether, I made $416 in payments. I had some late
So you
fees.
paid so far $1,316. Is that correct, Lexi?
$890 and $416.
Yeah.
I have $1,306.
Yeah, $1,306 is what you paid so far. The $890 would clear the debt?
Yes, it would make it your own.
Now, $1,306. Judgment for the plaintiff. Thank you very much. Remember that picture?
Yes, ma'am.
Case is now closed. Court is adjourned.
She was just being immature about it.
I think she made the right decision.
I'm a parent of 3, and I'd rather not put myself in a hole that I can't get myself out of.
Yeah, I really wanted it to work out, but I feel like it was just immaturity that made it go like that.
Stick to the agreement that we had, which was working on the car.
Every time he done work on our car, we always paid him.
Friends come and go.
The world works in mysterious ways, and I think he just likes it that way.
So, Alexi, let me tell you my takeaway from this case, which has nothing to do with the law. It has to do with Miss Gallardo, who I found absolutely charming. I actually found the plaintiff and her boyfriend also honest and charming. The defendant, on the other hand, is a hustler. And it's interesting that Miss Gallardo knows he's a hustler because that lady smiled when I say, remember the picture. 10 years, you won't remember him because he has 3 kids, takes care of them, she says, as best he can. Well, you can't take care of them as best you can if you don't have a job. And then not to have a job and to want $1,200 rims for your car. She knew it was ridiculous. The 2 of you are neighbors.
We are.
You filed harassment charges.
He actually screamed outside of my unit, I hate you. Him constantly talking into my camera or making gestures at the camera.
That's not true.
Spitting, flicking me off.
Who is that?
This is Judy Justice. Douglas Auerbach is suing his neighbor, Rachel Capron, for lost wages, false charges, attorney fees, and harassment.
Court come to order. All rise.
Have a seat, please.
Hello, Judge.
How are you?
Good. Case 3082, Auerbach Wu versus Caprion.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Mr. Auerbach, how long have you lived in your current residence?
I've lived there since 2006, Your Honor.
Do you own it or rent?
I own it.
Would you describe the kind of units it is?
They're condominium units. There's 8 per building.
How many floors?
Pardon?
How many
2 floors. Yeah, 4 on each.
And the 2 of you are neighbors?
We are.
You live on the same floor?
She lives in a separate building, but we're both on the 2nd floor.
Can you see her apartment from your apartment?
No, I can only see her door when I leave my apartment. I can't see her at all.
How far apart are the buildings?
17 feet.
When did you purchase your condominium?
July of 2019.
So you would live there more than a decade before the defendant moved in?
That's correct, Your Honor.
Ever had any difficulty before?
Never.
Okay. It is your claim, Mr. Auerbach, that the defendant, since she moved in, has embarked upon a course of conduct that can only be described, if this is true, serious harassment that has forced you to retain lawyers, that has potentially impacted on your business. You are, I see, a registered pharmacist.
That is correct, Your Honor.
So I'd like you to tell me, sir, when the problem first started with the defendant.
Well, to my knowledge, it started for me May 26, 2022, when a police officer showed up at my house.
Just a second. So the defendant had already been there for 4 years.
Correct.
So people showed up at your door. Who was that?
Officer showed up and was asking me some bizarre questions, strange questions. Are you walking around in the evening, asked me what my job was, which I thought was strange because I've lived in Fairlawn since 2006. I file a tax return, so he should know that I'm a pharmacist.
Did anything come of that visit?
Well, he said there were some complaints.
You can't tell me what he said because that's hearsay.
Yeah.
But did anything come from that visit?
Just that there was a complaint from the neighborhood. He didn't say neighbors, neighbor. And so I started asking my neighbors if there was a problem. And that's when I discovered that the defendant was...
Again, don't tell me hearsay. Ultimately, you and the defendant, it became an overt hostility. Would that be a fair statement?
Yes.
Yes?
Yes.
And since Mr. Auerbach doesn't know the genesis of your problem with him, why don't you tell me, when did you start to have, according to you, a problem with him?
Your Honor, I moved in July of 2019. Between July of 2019 and late 2021, I had noticed behavior. Marijuana was not legal in the state of Ohio. It is now legalized. But he was using marijuana outside on a very, very regular basis. Our condo units are very close in proximity. So he would be smoking outside and they'd be coming into my windows. As a matter of fact, I remember coming home from work one day and my entire unit smelled like marijuana. Not illegal, but like it's a nuisance for me.
In what year was that?
That was through the duration of 2021.
Just a second, that started in 2021.
That's correct.
Okay, but you moved in 2019. So in 2019, you didn't have a problem. In 2020, you didn't have a problem.
I had seen him using during those times. But
well, right now, marijuana use is legal. It's not illegal. Not illegal, and according to you, you could only see him outside.
Right in front of my windows.
He was in front of your windows, which, according to you, impacted inside your apartment. On occasion, you smelled it inside your apartment. So what did you do?
So late 2021, I had acquired these issues with Mr. Auerbach.
Now, what issues did you acquire with him? So far, you smelled marijuana. What did you do as a result of seeing Mr. Auerbach smoke marijuana or smell it in your apartment when you came home? What did you do?
Late 2021, I overheard Mr. Auerbach and his former girlfriend arguing very extremely. They had actually left their door wide open, and I heard this woman screaming. And knowing that he had been...
Scream, just a second. Screaming what?
Just fighting.
She wasn't screaming, ah! She was screaming at him.
That's correct.
He was screaming at her.
That's correct.
Okay, you didn't hear her screaming. You heard two people having a fight.
I heard her say...
You heard two people having a fight.
Yes.
So what did you do?
I called the police.
Okay. Do you recall what it is that you said to the police?
I told the police that there was a disturbing fight happening in front of my unit, and it seemed to be violent. And I was just worried for that girl. And I remember what she was saying, but I don't know if that's appropriate to say here.
Douglas Auerbach claims his neighbor, Rachel Capron, owes for lost wages and attorney fees after making false accusations. Rachel is countersuing Douglas for harassment and emotional distress.
Now, I'd like to know what she was saying. If I'm not accepting it for the truth of whether or not she actually said it, but I'd like to hear what you tell me you heard or what you tell me you relayed to the police.
Sure. She had said that he was a predator, was her word, and that he had created a fake Facebook profile to hit on her friend, is the words that I heard from his former girlfriend.
So it was a domestic fight. So that's not screaming. According to you, that's factual. She wasn't screaming, get off me, you're hurting me. They were having a fight about a Facebook page she created that she didn't like. So now you interjected yourself by calling the police, and you were frightened for the girl. So far, she sounds as if she can protect herself, based upon what you tell me. So you called the police, and do you remember when that was?
That was October of 2021.
That's not true.
Say nothing. When did the problem start that you refer to in your answer about the parking spaces in front of your condo?
Yes, so on February 6th of 2022, again, I called the police because of Mr. Auerbach's behavior.
No. You called the police because You heard, saw what?
This was when foreign guests were coming into and out of his home multiple hours throughout the day and the night. I had known that he was a pharmacist just through the talk of the neighborhood. But
Well, it's not the talk of the neighborhood unless you're talking or listening. You saw foreign people coming in and out of his apartment, so you called the police.
That's correct.
That was the second call that you made?
That's correct.
Okay. I want you to get to the parking spaces.
Sure.
You don't have assigned spaces in the front of the building, correct?
That's correct.
But in front of your building, there are certain spaces. In front of his building, there are certain spaces, but they're not assigned.
Yes.
According to what I read, he was parking in front of your building.
Once the issues between Mr. Albach and myself came up, he started parking all of his vehicles immediately in front of my unit so that when I come home from work, I have nowhere to park. I can choose to park in my garage, but I have no spaces.
When you say the issues arose, he wasn't having any issues with you. At that time, you were having issues with him.
That's correct.
You were having issues with him with smoking marijuana. You were having issues with him with having foreign visitors that you didn't recognize or know. So far, he didn't have any issues with you. Did the police respond on both instances, do you know?
When I called the police in late October of 2021, I know they came out to just do a basic well check. On February 6, 2022, when I called the police for him acting odd and having the foreign people coming in and out of his unit, he actually screamed at my window, "Clean up your dog, I hate you." And at that moment, it was very early in the morning.
Just a second. That was after your second call to the police. What happened next?
I purchased a Ring doorbell camera.
So you bought a Ring camera, and?
I bought the Ring camera, and from that day, I have now to this day hundreds of videos of him harassing me.
And other than these two calls to the police, did you make any other calls to the police about him?
Yes.
How many?
There were 6 total over the last 2+ years, 6 total reports.
Did you ever ask him to park his cars in front of his own building?
No, because at this...
Did you ask anyone else, like the condo association, anyone else, to ask him to park his cars in front of his own building?
I had brought that to the HOA attention.
When you say you brought it to the HOA, you went to the homeowners association.
I did.
And when you went to the homeowners association, in what month and year was that?
Approximately March of 2022.
Did you go to them in person or by mail?
By email.
I'd like to see it.
Unfortunately, I don't have that email.
Do you remember the complaint that you made when you sent an email to the homeowners association?
I do.
Well, in your best terms, what did you complain about?
I just said, you know, I understand that there are no assigned parking spots, but he's got 6, 8 spots in front of his. I have 4. And ever since we've started to have problems with one another, he started parking 1, 2, or 3 of his vehicles in front of mine.
True.
And was that the only complaint that you made? Was that all that you said in the email to them?
Yes, it was strictly parking.
Did they respond to you?
They did.
And what was the response?
Parking is not assigned.
Parking is not assigned. Right. Now, there came a point where you filed harassment charges against him, and there was a trial.
That's not true. There was no trial.
You filed harassment charges against. Were you arrested, sir?
No, I was cited, though.
Okay.
I stopped at my house.
And did you both appear at some sort of a hearing with regard to that?
Yes.
When was that?
I filed the protection order on June 29th, 2022.
And you served him. Do you have a copy of that complaint?
I do.
I'd like to take a look at it. Okay. So this says, after reporting he has harassed and verbally via telecommunications and has physically stalked me, after reporting his drug use to the police, comments of "go kill yourself," some very bad language, have been made through my security camera. He also flips me off while shouting, again, expletive, into my camera. He watches me from his window when I walk outside.
That's not true.
Now, when you appeared together, what place did you go to? A courthouse?
Yes.
And did you appear before a judge?
Yes.
What month did you appear before a judge in 2022?
I have noted that October 7th of 2022, the charges that he had received were in fact dropped. But when...
Just a second. I'm not there yet.
Douglas Auerbach has accused his neighbor, Rachel Capron, of harassing him and making false accusations. Rachel says Douglas has been excessively harassing her through her Ring camera.
You went together with him to a courthouse. What happened when you went with him to the courthouse?
So the first time we went to the courthouse, we had gone on 2 different occasions. The first time we met with a judge, and I was given the opportunity to testify. I went up on the stand and I gave her a summary of what he's been doing to me. During this testimony, the judge actually pulled the counsel into the back room. And when she came out, she said, "Mr. Auerbach, I see what you're doing." She said, "I see you looking at her."
I want to know what happened with that case. You testified. You had a lawyer. He had a lawyer.
I didn't have a lawyer at that time.
You said you had a public defender.
Right, a public defender. I hadn't hired.
Just a second. A public defender is a lawyer.
Yes, I'm sorry.
Just because you're not paying for it doesn't mean he or she is not a lawyer. You had a lawyer.
Yes.
And after you testified, what happened?
The hearing was continued.
To another day.
That's correct.
And what happened on the next date, which was when?
The next date was October 7th of 2022.
Okay, and what happened on that date?
So my public defender was there. We just waited, and she came over to me and said that the case was dismissed. I never saw anybody or talked to
just
anybody.
a second. You came back the next time, and your case was dismissed.
Yes.
So do you have a decision with regard to that? Do you have a decision with regard to that? I'm just curious as to what happened.
Well, there was actually 7 court dates that I attended. Those first few were arraignments.
Does anybody have any written document with regard to what happened at that hearing?
I have the court details right here
the decision.
with the dismissed.
Well, all it says is dismissed. I don't know.
Well, it's the whole court detail.
Just a second.
It'll illuminate on all the court dates that she's forgotten about.
Mr. Auerbach. Oh, yeah, there were a lot of court dates.
There were a lot.
Shh. You don't have to agree with me, sir. That's a statement. So there was nothing but a dismissal. And it was a dismissal after you testified. After you testified, the case was ultimately dismissed. I'm not entertaining your case because your case has already been adjudicated. It was dismissed, so I'm not hearing that. It's not that it was dismissed on some technicality. You, in fact, testified. Your case against him has already had its day in court. Do you understand?
Yeah.
Okay. Now, let's get back to false charges, lost wages. Now, Mr. Auerbach, false charges. He has harassed me via telecommunications. Okay, so that's what you say. I want you to tell me exactly what telecommunications you've referenced.
So I have a video that I would like to show on the big screen. If you would...
Just a second. Is that the telecommunications that you're talking about?
Yes. So on the Ring camera, him constantly talking into my camera or making gestures at the camera of my home.
And that was after you called the police several times on the defendant, who was never arrested as a result of any of those complaints. No charges ever filed against him. And then you put a Ring camera in because he said something about cleaning up after your dog. That frightened you. I must admit, I am less than ladylike. I think when I see somebody who's failing to pick up after their dog, as far as I'm concerned, it should be a felony, punishable by 15 to life.
I've never not picked up. I have a little Shih Tzu, and
I'm just telling you.
Lots of Shih Tzu.
I always pick up.
So now I'd like to see, after you put a Ring camera in, because after you started to have trouble with him, according to you,
yes,
for doing nothing that was illegal, but for which you called the police several times, now I'll see your video.
Standing on my doorstep.
Shh, 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 shh.
flicking me off, spitting, flicking me off.
That stupid dumb.
This is every day.
Why? Oh, thankful, grateful, blessed. Yeah, we'll see about that. I'm gonna be paying you. Get shot.
Get shot.
You talked to my daughter.
When he attacked my dad.
I never talked to her before. Talk to me. Get me. Talk to me. No. No, man to man. Man to man.
You want to tell me to go kill myself? And my camera call me back every day?
Just a second. Who are those people?
So the rainbow hoodie is myself. The person with the flannel was my dad, who
Okay, so that was your father.
Seconds prior
That was just
attacked outside in the parking lot.
I don't know about that or not. I asked who it was. Sure. I didn't see any attack. I saw that you're not getting along. Okay, keep going.
Hey, dude, why don't you leave me alone? I'm 25 years younger than you.
Anything else?
It's the end of the video.
Thank you.
That's
has
8 of
physically
100.
stalked me.
Yes.
I want to know how he has physically stalked you. Is that what I just saw? Or you're talking about follows you to your job, follows you to... Let me hear.
Sure.
Never.
So I have a little Shih Tzu that I walk around my neighborhood, and when I'm walking her, he has gotten into his Camaro, came up right next to us, puts it in neutral, and rums his engine at me as I'm walking my dog, me minding my business, looking straight. I don't say anything back. I just keep going till I get home to my house.
How many
safely.
times? Yeah. How many times had you called the police on him? Because you see, you hadn't had any trouble with him, which is what I'm having a problem wrapping my head around. He was having a fight with his girlfriend. You called the police.
I could hear the entire argument from my unit.
Mind your business.
She didn't say, don't put the knife in my face, don't point the gun at me. They were having a fight.
I have videos of him spitting on my door.
You started harassing him.
But why can't he leave me alone is my question.
He should. Then you should leave him alone.
I agree.
But you started it.
This is Judy Justice. Previously on Judy Justice.
Tell me, sir, when the problem first started with the defendant.
It started for me when a police officer showed up at my house.
When did you start to have a problem with him?
He was using marijuana outside, so he would be smoking outside and they'd be coming into my windows, and my entire unit smelled like marijuana.
After reporting his drug use to the police, comments of "go kill yourself" have been made through my security camera. Now I'll see your video.
You want to tell me to go kill myself? And my camera call me back every day?
Just a second. Who are those people?
The person with the flannel was my dad, who seconds prior was attacked outside in the parking lot.
I don't know about that or not. How many times had you called the police on him? Because you see, you hadn't had any trouble with him, which is what I'm having a problem wrapping my head around.
And now, the conclusion. Douglas Auerbach is suing his neighbor, Rachel Capron, for lost wages, false charges, attorney fees, and harassment.
Okay. When was your call to the police that he was smoking marijuana?
The first one was May 23rd of 22 is when they're noted in the police report, and I have a copy of that.
And then he cursed you. That's clear. That's in here. Have been made through my security camera. He watches me from his windows when I walk outside.
Mm-hmm.
And me. I see your mother shaking her head, yes.
Regarding the stalking, I hadn't seen my parents in a while, and they came over to go out to dinner together, and they showed up. I walked outside of my unit to get into my dad's car, and Mr. Auerbach came out and said to my dad, and that's when that last video that you saw was him saying, "Leave my daughter alone."
But the truth is, from his perspective, madam, you had been harassing him. Do you understand that? He had had no trouble living in his apartment from 2006. You move in and you don't like the fact that he's doing something that is not illegal, but is smelling up your house. Well, the first time you called was in May of 2022. When did marijuana become legal in your state?
believe it was November 8th of 23.
It was November 7th, 2023.
Medical became years before that. I have a medical card.
Well, everybody can get a medical card, but that means,
doesn't
it means you
matter. I'm
have, but it
following the
means you
rules.
have one. Do you have,
Absolutely.
Did you ever show anyone your medical marijuana card?
No.
Would you like to show it to me?
Sure.
I'd like to see it.
Is it dated?
Yeah, he has a Ohio medical marijuana registry, and it was issued October 2nd, 2021. Would you like to see it?
Thank you.
Just for my information, Mr. Rabak, the defendant has already told me why she called the police the first time, which is about this fight that you had with your then girlfriend. How long had you been with this girlfriend?
3 or 4 years.
Did she live with you?
She did.
Had the police ever been called prior to the defendant moving in?
Never.
And I have to tell you, I'm not necessarily faulting you if you were legitimately concerned over the safety of someone, but it turned out that it was a fight and an overreaction. She was accusing him of doing certain things in a very loud way, and he was fighting with her. And so I'm not going to fault you for being proactive, but you have to understand from his perspective, you were a Badinsky. When you call the police and say, there's a woman and I'm fearful that something is happening to her, and it was a domestic dispute, a shouting match, you can understand from his perspective that was a bit of an overkill.
Right. It was just extremely loud, and the door was left wide open. I could hear the entire argument from my unit. And it went on for a long time.
What you may do is, if you're calling, you can report something as being loud, like playing loud music. They're screaming and we're hearing them. And it looks to me as if there are lots of units there. As far as you know, no one else called the police about this argument, just you. So you can understand from his perspective that that's a form of harassment. And you can understand that from his perspective, since he has a legal marijuana card that was issued a year before, and I'm not going to ask him why, because, you know, you can say you have an ingrown toenail and get a medical marijuana card. But he was not doing anything illegal. And then you say that there were people coming in and out of his unit. Do you have any video of that?
I do not.
No.
That was before I got the Ring camera, before the harassment.
What do you mean? So your concern was, and your reporting was, these are foreigners coming into his apartment, and the connotation was that he was a drug dealer.
I saw one.
That was the connotation, right?
Yes.
Yes.
Douglas Auerbach is suing his neighbor, Rachel Capron, for lost wages, false charges, attorney fees, and harassment. Rachel is countersuing, claiming Douglas harassed her, causing emotional distress.
And so what you're telling me, as soon as you got the Ring camera, the people stopped coming? He went out of business?
I didn't see people coming anymore. He hated the camera. And the one person that I saw show up at his house was knocking on his door. His old girlfriend had answered the door, and he was doing this like nodding out motion. And I was scared. I live, like you said, our doors are less than 20 feet apart from one another. And there's this guy outside his front door that is clearly impaired from something.
Well,
and needing him.
Mind your business.
Shh.
Mind you. If I have to go outside and let my dog outside, I should be able to do that without running into these foreign people that are coming to his home, or running into him, cussing me out, calling me every name under the sun. And
Madam,
spitting
you
at
have
my
to
door.
understand, I'm going to tell you, and your mother is nodding and agreeing with you, he did not precipitate this hostility. I know that you feel as if he did, but he didn't. He was having a fight with his girlfriend. You called the police. According to you, he had people coming to his house. You have no proof of that, but they were foreign people. They made you uncomfortable. You called the police. After you called the police at least those 2 times, you wrote to the HOA asking for them to intercede on your behalf, to tell him to move his cars out of the front of your building. You felt uncomfortable enough because evidently he's going to tell me that somebody from the pharmacy board came to his house as a result of complaints that you filed, and it could have cost him his license. It ultimately did not, but it could have. And you're telling me that after all of that, you think he should be a pleasant neighbor?
Your Honor,
what is that?
Does she have to live like this?
No, she should probably move closer to you. She should probably move closer. He's been living there well over a decade. He had no trouble. And he wasn't doing anything illegal, and he wasn't doing anything that necessitated police intervention, both of which your daughter sought. Do you understand? She didn't know he had a medical marijuana card. And I never fault people if they have a legitimate fear that somebody, man or woman, is being threatened. But what she heard was an argument.
I heard an argument, and I was fearful of what was happening.
Well, that's not his problem. That's your problem that you're fearful. What you actually told me that you heard was this woman with whom he had lived shouting at him that he was a predator and that he made up a false Facebook page. This is his domestic partner, that she evidently found out, according to the argument that you relayed, that he was doing something sub rosa that was sketchy. She didn't say, don't put the knife in my face, don't point the gun at me, stop chasing me. They were having a fight. So you have to understand, from his perspective, you started it, and he reacted by being crude. But despite the fact that your mother thinks you're in the right, you started harassing him for no legal reason. That's from his perspective. You had no legal reason to call the police on him the first 2 times, and I don't know how many times you called the police after that. So I think you're absolutely right. I think you should not have to be in a place where you feel uncomfortable walking out with your dog. He's not moving. He's lived there. And if you find his conduct reprehensible, as your mother does, and as actually I find being cursed at, through whether it's through a Ring camera or in person, I find that distasteful. It's not going to get any better. So you're a young woman. If you're truly unhappy, sell your apartment and move.
I shouldn't have to move because of...
Well, he's not going to have to move.
But why can't he leave me alone is my question.
Just a second. He should leave you alone, and you should leave him alone.
I agree.
But you started it.
I started
Do
it
you
because
understand?
I was scared. I live by myself, Your Honor.
No. The first time you called the police, you weren't scared. Well, you weren't scared that you smelled marijuana in your apartment, that the windows were open. You came home from work and your apartment smelled for marijuana. You weren't mad. You were annoyed. That started it. You didn't have any trouble with him before. And then the foreign people who were coming to his door, you know, that's a serious allegation. Serious. So, do I think he behaved like a gentleman? No. Do I think that you overreacted to situations that caused him to have to hire a lawyer? The answer is absolutely yes. And since it's not going to get better, since those things are in stone already, he's already been involved with the police, he's already been involved with the courts, he's already been involved with the board that governs his livelihood because of allegations that you made, and that's not going to go away. Because if he's accused and the underlying allegation with people, as you said, coming to his door and somebody bowing to him, which is the motion that you made, a bowing motion, and if the police contacted or somebody else contacted the governing board that governs his license, that all was precipitated because of you. And I'm not condoning the foul language, the talking into your Ring camera, all of that. But this bad blood exists. It's not going to go away. So why should you have to? You shouldn't have to. Why should he? Because it's not going to stop.
I've looked at moving recently.
Well, that's a good idea. That's a good idea. Meanwhile, I don't find any of the allegations that you described for the first 2 reasons to take him to court had any validity. How much did the lawyer cost you?
$3,000, Your Honor.
I saw that in here, his bill for $3,000. I have to tell you, Mr. Raubach, I haven't really addressed you yet. And you can hear that I have a certain amount of sympathy for your position because the 2 things that she alleged that you did to cause her to call the police on 2 occasions before she filed a complaint against you, there was nothing illegal about your behavior.
Correct.
That's according to her. There was nothing illegal about your behavior. So I don't think that you should have to pay a lawyer. I think she should have to pay your lawyer. But I think that what I saw on the camera was a crude reaction. Crude.
And it's every day.
It was
every day.
It was precipitated by you.
Defendant Rachel Capron claims the plaintiff, Douglas Auerbach, has been harassing her for years. Douglas says he's lost thousands of dollars to defend himself from Rachel's false accusations.
Now, it was precipitated by your actions. I'm telling him it's a crude reaction, all of which was precipitated by you for him doing nothing that was illegal or required police intervention. If somebody called the police on me and I wasn't doing anything wrong, and as a result of that, I had to hire a lawyer to defend me, I would be royally annoyed. I wouldn't use that kind of language. I would probably do something more vengeful, but I would do it so that it couldn't be traced back to me. But you and your mother both have to understand, while his reaction was certainly ungentlemanly, crude, and probably continues to be, it was precipitated by your actions.
I have videos of him spitting on my door, hundreds of him spitting on my door. So when
That's
I
a
go
lie.
to walk, it's not a lie. I have it all on
Just a
video
second.
right now.
Stop. I can't tell you that I approve of his crude conduct. I don't. But the first two allegations that you made against him that required him to go to court, it looks like, on at least 7 or 8 occasions, and hire a lawyer.
I have a paper too.
I don't care. You started it. He had to go to court to defend himself against something that was not illegal. What do you want?
Can I just ask one question, Judge?
Sure. You have to stand up and ask me a question.
My daughter has been changed for 2 years due to the harassment.
Do you understand what I'm saying?
I understand what you're
saying.
saying.
So what's your question? Don't make a statement. What's your question?
Does she have to continue to be treated this way and continue to be prescribed anti-anxiety medication due to the severe harassment that this man causes her every single day?
I think she should move close to you.
Does he have to continue? Can you just tell him to stop?
I can tell him to stop. It's not going to mean anything to him if I tell him to stop. And your daughter has had a hearing. Maybe she has to go back if she has proof that she wants a protective order, that he's doing something illegal. Let her refile, or let her do the smart thing, let her sell her apartment and move. That's what I would advise one of my children. He's not going to move, and as long as they live right opposite each other, there's going to be acrimony. I wouldn't live like that. I really wouldn't live like that, nor would I encourage one of my children to live like that. He's been living there since 2008 or 6. He's not moving. And what precipitated this whole hostility, he probably has a short fuse. He probably is relentless in getting even.
Yes.
You have to acknowledge that your daughter started the trouble.
I understand, but isn't
No,
there a
not
point?
do you understand. Do you understand and agree with it?
I agree, but can't it stop after 2 years?
Well, once the Hatfield and McCoys started to fight, they continued to fight until a lot of people were dead. And it seems to me life has enough challenges so that if you can extricate yourself from a major stressor, you do that. Okay, we're finished. Mr. Raubach, I don't think that you should have had to pay for a lawyer for the first instance that brought you to court. Based upon what she tells me, you were engaged in no illegal conduct at the time she brought you to court. So she's going to pay for your lawyer. I don't have to entertain your counterclaim because that counterclaim is based on the same allegations that were already heard by another court and the case was dismissed. If you have fresh allegations and want to continue this lunacy and you have further proof, file for another protective order. Maybe this one will be granted. And I wouldn't live in a situation where I felt uncomfortable. I mean, he's a man, you're a woman, you're younger, you're about the same size. So it's not a David and Goliath situation. But one of you is going to move, and clearly he's not. He's been living there almost 20 years, right? Okay. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $3,000. We're finished. Thank you.
This court is adjourned.
I've been living in misery for 2 years. I called the police simply because I was concerned for my safety, and I guess I'll have to continue living with the current circumstances.
I was happy that the judge kind of tore into her and her mother a little bit. Not happy about some of my behavior towards her, being rude, but it's protected free speech, and you know, she's going to have to deal with it.
Severe anxiety, panic attacks. I'm scared to go outside to let my dog out, scared to let the trash out, take the trash out. It's just anxiety in my own home that I pay for all the time.
Leave me alone. Don't talk to me. Ignore me. Get on with your life.
I feel like a prisoner in my own home. I'm scared to be in my house when I'm home.
People should just mind their own business.
It is an absolute living hell.
You know, Sarah, I actually feel sorry for the defendant. I wouldn't like to live that way. For whatever reason, she called the police the first time because it was loud. You know, I don't know whether I would call the police. I would close my door and turn up the music a little bit because there was nothing threatening in that conversation. If anything, it sounded like his ex-girlfriend was threatening him. And would I be annoyed if my next-door neighbor was smoking cigars and my apartment reeked from cigar smoke because it crept under? Would I be annoyed? I would be. But if it's not illegal, then it's not worth a phone call.
Yeah, I think people should think twice about the consequences and how long, like we've seen here, those consequences can go on for as a result of involving law enforcement in, you know, petty disputes.
Probably
really be sure when you make that call, you know, that it's
It's
have
not just
everyone's
annoying.
best interests and it's from a good place.
Right.
And I think it was from a good place with her, but I think she was a little nosy Nelly.
And certainly, what she says, she saw foreigners. Just, I don't know what that means.
People are allowed to have whoever they want come and go from their residence.
Your giant leap is that he's a drug dealer.
Yeah.
Well, those things would be irritating, certainly if they were not true.
Yeah.
And was he crude, rude in response? He was crude, rude in response.
But he didn't call the police on her for any of her behavior in retaliation.
Yeah.
So, you know.
Anyway,
it's
I
just
feel sorry for
unfortunate.
her, and I really think she should move.
Yeah, I do
Because
too.
he's not moving.
Yep.
Okay, so you're crossing the street. He honked the horn at you. You flipped him off.
He gets out and he starts to get loud. That's when he pulled out about an 8-inch combat knife.
Dumb and Dumber.
Next day is when we really had an altercation.
Oh, so this is just an appetizer.
This is Judy Justice. Lucille Chacon is suing her neighbor, Seth Kaufman, for damage after Seth attacked her car.
Court come to order. All rise.
Have a seat, please.
Case 3105, Chacon versus Kaufman.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Ms. Chacon, you are here today because you believe that the defendant is responsible for damage that was done to your car.
Yes.
Your car that was being driven by your grandson.
Yes.
This is the grandson.
Yes.
They had some altercation, and one or both of them may have gotten a little bit injured during the course of the altercation. But what took the most of a beating was your automobile.
Yes.
Were you present during that incident?
Not while the incident was happening, but I did come out later on.
Well, I'm not interested in what happened later on, because the defendant's position is that it was your grandson that precipitated this whole problem, and he was merely reacting to what your grandson had done. So since you were not a witness to any of this, I'm going to have you change places with your grandson.
Okay.
I'm sorry.
Tell me your name.
My name is James Abeda.
James.
Yes.
How old are you, James?
I'm 19 years old.
What do you do?
I'm a plumber.
Your first name.
Seth.
How old are you?
I'm 22 years old.
What do you do?
I'm a cook
Where?
at a senior living in Oceanside.
Both working. Hallelujah moment. A 19 and a 22-year-old who were actually employed. Congratulations.
Thank you.
How do you know him?
I didn't know him until this altercation happened, and then I found out he was my neighbor.
Okay. This incident happened on...
I think it was September 15th.
So you live next door to each other?
I believe he lives in the apartment next to mine, yes.
How long have you lived in your apartment?
About 6 years, but I haven't always stayed with my grandmother, and that's where she stays, and I stay with her currently.
Could you speak a little slower and try to keep the hair out of your eyes when you're talking to me?
Yes.
Thank you. On September 15th, where were you living?
With my grandmother in Torrance.
And is that where you live as well?
Yes, it is.
Prior to September 15th, you didn't know each other.
I didn't. Not at all.
Okay. So why don't you start out by telling me what happened on September 15th, starting out with the time?
My first time interacting with him, I was crossing the street to go to work with channel locks, boots, and other
With what?
With like channel locks, pliers for work. I had those in my hand along with boots and other things that I needed. And as I was almost gonna finish crossing the street, he started to honk, and I flipped him off because...
Okay, so he was driving.
Yes.
So you were crossing the street.
Yes.
He was driving. Were you walking slowly? Just a second, Seth. So he was walking slowly.
Very, very slowly.
How very, very
Like
slowly?
at
Just
the-
listen to me. Listen to me. What I want you to do is, who is this?
Oh, that's my girlfriend.
This is your girlfriend. I want you to stand between your girlfriend and the desk. Right here. Right there. Now I want you to walk in front of your bench and show me how fast he was walking.
Probably about this, like...
No, that's
like a
not true.
snail's pace.
Yeah, that's not true. Now go back, and I want you to rethink this again, Seth. I want you to rethink it. Do you understand?
Yes.
You know how old I am? Nobody crosses the street like that, sir, unless they're looking to irritate you. And you hadn't even had any contact with him before that, so he wasn't walking backwards. Now show me how he was walking.
Probably about...
That's okay. That's better. Now go back. Okay. Did he have the right of way? Is not an answer.
He did not.
All pedestrians have the right of way, sir.
It wasn't on a crossing guard.
So he was crossing in the middle of the street?
Yes, between the median.
Explain that to me.
There's a median between the street on Artesia, and it was like walking off of there. No like crosswalk or anything.
What time was this?
It was in the morning, I think about 10 a.m.
Okay, so you're crossing the street. Wasn't fast enough for him. He honked the horn at you. You flipped him off.
Yes.
Okay, let's go from there.
And then when I flipped him off, he got very mad, and he...
Just tell me what he did. Don't tell me he got mad. Mad is his state of mind. Just tell me what he did. Okay. You flipped him off. Did you say anything?
No, I didn't at that point. He was in his car with the windows up.
Okay, was he alone?
He was with his girlfriend at the time.
That would be you.
Yes.
Do me a favor, please. Kevin,
Yes.
Take her outside.
This way.
Okay, so he's with his girlfriend. You flipped him off now.
So he parks his car in the middle of the street.
He stops in the middle of the street?
Yes, and he gets out, and he starts to get loud. He's like, you need to learn some respect, and...
Is that what he said to you? You have to learn some respect?
Yes, he said, like, something along the lines of, I'm going to teach you some respect, or you need to learn some respect, because I had flipped him off, and...
Just a minute. So far, Seth, listen to me. You're driving your car with your girlfriend. He's walking very slowly. You honk your horn at him. He turns around. He flips you off. You stop the car. Is that correct?
Yeah. But
not yeah. Not yeah. That's a yes.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am is even better.
Lucille Chacon claims her neighbor, Seth Kaufman, damaged her car during a fight with her grandson, James.
Okay, you stopped the car. Did you get out of the car?
Yes, because I was...
Just a second. You stopped the car. And when you stopped the car in the middle of the street.
I pulled off to the side.
Was it in a parking lane?
Yes.
Listen, was it in a parking lane that you pulled over?
Yes.
Okay, so you pulled over into a parking lane and got out of your car?
Yes, and put on my emergency lights as well.
Well, what was the emergency? Think about that for a second. I want you to tell me what the emergency was. Is not an answer.
It's not an answer, you're right, ma'am. He was yelling obscenities at me, so I yelled some obscenities back.
No. He wasn't yelling obscenities to you, sir. He flipped you off.
He left out the part where he also yelled obscenities at me.
You mean after you honked the horn at him?
Yes.
What did he say?
Along the...
Not along the line. I want you to think about what he said. You know, I got a crystal ball here. I want you to think about what he said, and you can tell me. Nothing makes me blush.
He basically just said...
Not basic. Listen, basically is a filler word. What did he say?
Am I allowed to cuss, ma'am? Here? Because it was
curse words.
Are you allowed to say it? I said to you, I've heard everything.
Okay, he basically said I was a... Sorry,
Basically,
ma'am.
not basically. What did he say?
He said I was a... He said I was a bitch. He said I was a lot of things.
Now, just a second. Now, he said all these things to you while he was crossing the street and flipping you off.
Yes.
No, I'm not sure I buy that. My friend Seth, I think they may have said those things to you after you stopped and you started to argue with him. But all that didn't happen. You're driving in the driving lane. You honk your horn because you're a little impatient, which is sort of stupid, but you're only 22. And he flips you off. You pull off to the side. This all happened very fast.
Yeah.
Do you understand?
Yes.
Common sense. That's what the world is all about. You pull off and then you get out, and then you start back and forth with him.
No, Judge. Because he actually did start yelling obscenities when I had my windows down. He mentioned the fact that my windows were up. They were not. They were down because it was a hot day. So I could hear him yelling the obscenities because it was when he started flipping me off. It was...
Yeah, so why don't you just keep going? What difference does it make to you? If he called you a couple of names, you're in the car with your girlfriend, what difference does it make? You keep moving.
Ego, I guess, ma'am.
Well, you can call it ego, you can call it the stupid gene, you can call it whatever you want, but you don't pull over in your car because somebody calls you a name after you act like a jerk and honk your horn at them as they're crossing the street and get out of your car. Okay, so now you're an idiot. Now let's move forward. So now you're yelling at each other. Next.
After that, he said we could fight.
No, look here.
Sorry, he said we could fight, so...
He said to you, you could fight?
Yeah, we both...
No, not we both. I want to know what he said to you. He's crossing the street. He's got things in his hands. According to you, he says to you, do you want to fight?
Yes. Yes,
and?
And I agreed.
And you said, sure, I want to fight.
Yeah. It's mutual combat.
Dumb and dumber. Go ahead. So he said, do you want to fight? You said, sure. This is all because you honked your horn because somebody wasn't walking fast enough in front of your car. You know how stupid that sounds?
Pretty stupid.
Yeah.
I'm aware it sounds stupid now coming out of my mouth.
Yeah.
Again, yeah.
Yeah. You know, what you got to say is, I'm a work in progress.
Yeah, I am.
Okay, keep going.
After he agreed to that...
He agreed to fight with you?
Yeah, he agreed. After that, when it was just me and him, my girlfriend was trying to tell me, like, just stop. We can both, like, just leave, which I should have listened to her. I understand that. Yes.
Was she still in the car?
No, she had come out with me to, like, try to dissolve the situation.
Okay, so, you know, she's out someplace now where she can't hear what's going on here, which is why I had her escorted from the courtroom. So she's going to tell me that when you pulled over, she said, do not get out of the car.
Yeah.
Don't get out of the car.
Yes.
That sounds like something I would say to my husband when somebody cuts him off and he pulls off and he goes running out of the car. I say, you're 90 years old. Who are you going to fight with? Go ahead. You know, but sometimes you don't get smarter. Sometimes the work in progress just gets stunted. Keep going.
After that, when we both agreed to
fight, and your girlfriend is telling you...
Trying to stop me from doing everything. That's when he pulled out about an 8-inch combat knife that was completely camouflaged. Wish I had a picture of it. But it was about that big enough to hurt me, basically. Like,
I don't care what size a knife is. A knife is a knife is a knife. It could be an inch long.
I agree.
A knife.
But yeah, it was a pretty big knife. And then after that, when we were just yelling at each other, I didn't leave after he pulled out the knife because I was kind of like, I can't believe you pulled out a knife on me. I was just shocked by it. A neighbor came over and started trying to break us up as well. And so did my father. My father came over because he just so happened to be outside and tried to stop us too. So that day it got dissolved, like the whole situation.
And?
The next day is when we really had an altercation.
Oh, so this is just an appetizer.
Yes.
Of what happened the next day, which was September 16th.
Yes.
So now your father is there, your girlfriend is there, you're separated.
Yes.
Then you saw each other again the next day.
Correct.
Take it from there. Now you saw each other the next day. What happened the next day? So far we don't have anything except, did you take out a knife on the 15th? That's an answer, yes or no?
No.
You did not?
No.
You did not have a knife with you?
Yes, I did.
You did. Where was it?
In my waistband.
So it was there?
Yes.
Okay. And visible?
Yes.
Okay. And what kind of a knife was it?
A camouflage knife with a...
How big?
About this big.
Okay. And who else was out there? He was there with his girlfriend, and his father came to sort of break things up. And it was broken up, and you got back into your car and drove off.
Yes.
So far, correct?
Yes.
Let's go to the next day.
So the next day, I was sitting in my car in front of the apartment that I live at.
You mean your grandmother's car?
Yes. And I noticed that he was like on the median that he was talking about on Artesia. He was already crossed on that side, and he was with his girlfriend. And he had noticed that I was sitting in my car, and he had already had his knife out, and he came up to me, and he tried stabbing me. He stuck his knife in the car, already yelling before I could even acknowledge his existence. He came up to me yelling, upset, and he.
What was he yelling?
He was like, "What's up?" He was like, "What's up? What happened yesterday? Like, what about yesterday? You called me. What about now?" Because he had a knife now, and I guess the day before he felt like he didn't. So he came up to me with a knife and immediately stuck it in the window, tried poking me, and as I tried to get out, he kicked the door about 5 times while I was trying to get out, crushing me and also shutting the door as I'm trying to get out. And by the time I got out...
What were you trying to get out for?
To not get stabbed, because I couldn't pull off because he was on the left side of my car, and that's the side I needed to go onto the road, so I couldn't drive off.
Unless you ran him over.
Yeah, and I didn't want to kill him.
He had a knife. He was stabbing you.
Yeah.
You could have killed him.
Lucille Chacon and her grandson James are accusing their neighbor, Seth Kaufman, of damaging her car during a fight with James.
Okay, keep going.
So at that point, I got out and I followed him.
Okay, just a second. So then you were able to get out of your car because he walked away.
He didn't walk away.
Well, then, because you say you were following him, which means that you were behind him, which means he was walking away.
No, he was facing me and I was facing him, and I was kind of like walking him back around my car, because I was trying to go to my gate and get inside instead of driving off.
Well, why didn't you drive off? Now he's away from the car. Why didn't you just drive off?
I just didn't want to get stabbed. I wasn't sure what to do. It all happened very fast.
So you didn't want to get stabbed, so you got out of your car?
Yeah, and I was trying to go inside.
Is that pretty stupid, right?
Yeah, well, I was trying to avoid hitting him with the car.
Nah. Go.
He was parked in the fire lane, and there was no cars in front of him. He could have pulled off if he...
No, not coulda, woulda, shoulda. Just tell me what happened.
I was walking across the street. Me and my girlfriend were actually having a little bit of a spat.
My girlfriend and I.
Oh, my girlfriend and I, you're right. We're having a little bit of a spat. She was leaving. I was going across the street to go, talk to her, settle things down.
So you were having a fight with your girlfriend?
Yeah, little altercation.
What were you having a fight about?
I don't even remember. Something small and stupid, probably. And then while I was walking across the street, I heard James from his car, who put down his window, start yelling at me. Again, more obscenities. You're a bitch, you're this, you're that. So I thought he wanted to start stuff again, and it seemed like he did. So I walked up, I started talking to him. Like, do you want to fight again? The exact same thing I said the day before, and the exact same thing happened. He pulled out a knife that he had in his waistband, and yeah, we just kept yelling at each other back and forth. My girlfriend, again, tried to get in between us and stop everything that was going on.
Okay, so what you're saying to me that he instigated what happened on the 16th of September by shouting at you when you were crossing the street to talk to your girlfriend.
Exactly.
And then you came back to the car to confront him as to why he's calling you names again.
Exactly.
And then from inside his car, he took out a knife?
The exact same knife, yes.
The exact same knife?
Yes.
And what did you have?
Nothing.
Now, you knew he had a knife from the day before.
Yes, I did.
So why would you go over to his car unless you yourself had some sort of something to protect yourself with?
I didn't really care about protecting myself. I was just more angry than anything. And that does sound stupid, but it's the truth. I was just really upset with the fact that we could have had mutual combat the day before, which we both are adults, we agreed to. Could have done that, but he wanted to pull out a weapon when there was...
This all started because he wasn't walking fast enough across the street.
Yes, this all started because he wasn't walking fast enough across the street, yes.
Mm-hmm. How did Mrs. Chacon's car get damaged?
When I was trying to defend myself from him, like I said, he had a pretty big knife. He says that he was following me.
No. I asked you a question. He did not damage his own car.
He did not.
You damaged his car. How did you damage his car, and with what? What?
I guess my body when I was trying to defend myself.
Well,
I didn't even realize it happened until it happened.
Yeah, but I'm going to see pictures of it, I assume. Do you have photographs? I assume I'm going to see pictures of the damage to the car.
I do not have photos of the car.
No, they do.
Oh, yeah.
So as far as you're concerned, you don't know exactly how their car got damaged?
No, not exactly.
Did you break a window?
That's what they told me I did.
No. You were there.
I was there. I don't remember doing that though. I don't.
Did you break a windshield?
I believe it was the back, not window, but the little tiny part that's connected to your back window in the back of your car? One of those tiny ones. Not the window, but the little glass part over.
A little glass part, that's usually called a window.
Yeah.
What about holes in the car?
Holes?
Holes. Would there be any pictures of holes in the car?
I don't think so.
No. Okay. And would there be any marks where there was any kicking to the car?
There shouldn't have been. No, ma'am.
You don't remember kicking the car?
No, I don't.
Do you remember what kind of car it was?
BMW.
Okay. Now, let's go back. Now he's with the girlfriend. Pick it up.
So he's
September 16th. You're in your car, sitting in the fire lane. Did you hear what he just told me?
Yes.
Is that accurate?
No, it's not. He damaged my car when I had gotten out of it. We went to the back, and that's where I had to go to my gate and
Go to your what?
To my gate inside of my apartment. And his girlfriend was screaming to just stop everything because the day before it was something traumatic, I'm sure, for her as well already. And it was the same, like calling each other that, and so we were just standing there across from each other on the sidewalk, and then he backed because he's close to my car, so he kind of backhands it. And he does that to the trunk, and his hand goes through the glass, so it cuts him, and the back of the car has a hole in it.
Can I see photographs of the damage? Oh, well, that would be what we call like a 2-year-old. That would be called a window. What I want you to do is, I see the broken window. What I want you to do, James, is Kevin is going to give you a pen, something that will show up on this, and I want you to make a circle as to where you allege there's damage to your car, your grandmother's car, other than the window.
I believe there was one more picture in the stack that showed the door that he kicked.
Well, I'd like to see it. Okay. What's the damage here?
Like a scratch, like a line across.
And what was that made with?
I think with a knife.
Okay, good. Now, Kevin, would you go and bring in Mr. Kaufman's girlfriend? What is her name?
Kyla.
হ্যালো ফ্রেন্ডস, ওয়েলকাম ব্যাক টু মাই চ্যানেল। কেমন আছো তোমরা সবাই? আশা করি সবাই অনেক অনেক ভালো আছো, আর আমিও খুব ভালো আছি। তো কিছু কিছু আপু আছে যাদের স্কিনে পিম্পলের সমস্যাও নেই, ব্ল্যাক হেডসের সমস্যাও নেই, আর স্কিনটা ঠিক ফর্সাও আছে, কিন্তু তাদের একটাই সমস্যা, সেটা হলো কি নাকের দুই পাশে কালো, এবং কি থুতনির এখান দিয়ে কালো, এবং কি ঠোঁটের দুই পাশে কালো। তো এই কালো জিনিসটাও কিন্তু ভালো লাগে না, কিন্তু তোমার স্কিনটা ফর্সা আছে, ব্রণ নেই, ঠিক আছে, কিন্তু তাও যদি এই জিনিসটা কালো থাকে তাহলে কিন্তু সেটা মেকআপ দিয়ে ঢাকা যায় না, এমন অবস্থা হয়। তাই সবসময় চেষ্টা করবে পুরো স্কিনটাকে একদম উজ্জ্বল রাখার। তো সেই জন্য কী করবে, তোমাদেরকে আমি একটা রেমেডি বলে দিচ্ছি এখন। সেই রেমেডিটা ইউজ করলে কিন্তু এই সমস্যা থেকে মুক্তি পাবে। এতে করে কিন্তু তোমার স্কিনে সেই দাগটা চলে যাবে, আর তোমার স্কিনটা কিন্তু অনেক বেশি উজ্জ্বল হয়ে যাবে। তো তার জন্য হচ্ছে একটা বাটির মধ্যে প্রথমে নিয়ে নিবে হচ্ছে 1 চামচ পরিমাণে বেসন। আর বেসন তো জানোই যে কোনো বই দোকানে পাওয়া যায়, আর আমাদের ঘরেও অনেক সময় থাকে, কারণ ওটাতে বেগুনি পাকোড়া তৈরি করা হয়। আর বেসন বেসিক্যালি আমাদের স্কিনে দাগ দূর করতে, ডেড সেল দূর করতে সাহায্য করে। তো এখানে যেহেতু ডেড সেল জমে জমে স্কিনটা কালো হয়ে গেছে, সেই ডেড সেলগুলো দূর করবে এই বেসন। এরপরে নেবে হচ্ছে অল্প একটু পরিমাণে হলুদের গুঁড়া, তবে কাস্তের হলুদ হলে সব থেকে বেশি ভালো হয়। এরপরে নেবে হচ্ছে 1 চামচ পরিমাণ লেবুর রস। এরপরে নেবে হচ্ছে 1 চামচ পরিমাণে মধু। এখন এই সবগুলো জিনিস খুব ভালো মতো গুলে নেবে। গুলে নিলেই কিন্তু তোমাদের রেমেডিটা তৈরি হয়ে যাবে, খুবই ইজি। তবে লাগানো কিন্তু একটা প্রসেস আছে, লাগাবে তো খুব মুখটাকে খুব ভালো মতো ধুয়ে এরপর লাগিয়ে নেবে। এরপর হচ্ছে তোমরা কি করবে, একটু টমেটো নেবে। টমেটোটা নিয়ে এরপর তোমরা হচ্ছে ওই জিনিসটা যখন 5 থেকে 10 মিনিট রাখা হয়ে যাবে না, তখন একটু শুকিয়ে যাবে, তখন তোমরা টমেটো দিয়ে একটু মাসাজ করবে। মাসাজ করলে কি হবে, তোমাদের যে মানে কালো দাগটা এতদিন ধরে জমে ছিল নাকের দুই পাশে এখানে এখানে কিন্তু জমে থাকলে তখন সেটা সহজে উঠে না। ওই কারণে তোমরা কি করবে, একটু মাসাজ করলে সেটা একটু তাড়াতাড়ি করে উঠে যাবে, তখন তোমাদের স্কিনটা কিন্তু গ্লোয়িং করতে শুরু করবে। তো আশা করি তোমাদেরকে বোঝাতে পেরেছি। ভিডিও ভালো লাগলে অবশ্যই লাইক করবে, চ্যানেলটাকে অবশ্যই সাবস্ক্রাইব করবে। দেখো নেক্সট ভিডিওতে। সে পর্যন্ত সবাই ভালো থাকবে, সুস্থ থাকবে, সবার জন্য অনেক 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 দোয়া রইল। সো টাটা, বাই বাই।